ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Nissan, inviting you to test drive the new 240 SX. By United Airlines, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies. And by Braun Electric Shavers. It is through superior design that superior performance can be achieved.
Downtown Indianapolis on a beautiful autumn evening. A city so very proud of their sports involvement, and rightfully so. The Pan Am Games in '87, the Olympic trials this past year, the Indy 500, and they're also equally as proud of their Indianapolis Colts. Sellout crowd in the Hoosier Dome tonight. First time ever for Monday Night Football in Indianapolis. A bizarre crowd, if you will. A little crazed in many ways. They are into tonight. They are into the football game, and they are into the festivities. There are 60,000 masks that have been distributed throughout the stadium. Some familiar faces as you look into the audience. Yes. And, of course, Dan Dierdorf in the end zone, as he should be. And other faces. A wild and hairy night in Indianapolis on Hollywood night. The Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. Hi, everyone. I'm really Pat Summerall.
Well, if that's the case, I'm Brent Musburger here on CBS, and I'm the only guy in this booth without a hardware commercial.
I guess that means I'm John Madden, and I do have a hardware commercial and lots of others.
It is a real wild and zany night here in Indianapolis. They've been preparing for this all week long, and there literally are 60,000 masks spread out through the stadium. And of course, we have to get serious because while the fans are having a whale of a time here, there are two football teams that are very serious about tonight. That, of course, being the Indianapolis Colts and the Denver Broncos, two teams that have struggled through the first half of the football season. They look to improve. And, of course, as we talk about the Indianapolis Colts, you think of their 3-5 record, the defending champions of the AFC Eastern Division. They think they have it together. They think they can go ahead through the rest of the season and perhaps get that wild card, get back into the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos, they win tonight. They're still tied for the AFC West with Seattle, but this is a struggling team defensively. They had a lot of problems. They're ranked 28th and last in the NFL coming into the night defensively, and then you think of the Indianapolis Colts going against that defense, Al Michaels, and right away up pops the big guy, Eric Dickerson.
Are we really doing this?
I guess we are.
Back to local. Pretty soon. The Colts have to feel pretty good about the way things have gone in the last couple of weeks. This is a team that started out 1-5, and of course, since they finished first in their division last year, their schedule extremely difficult in 1988. But they beat Tampa Bay 2 weeks ago, then they beat San Diego last week. They think they have it together, but as Frank mentioned, they're in the same division as the Buffalo Bills, who have the best record in the league right now. So the Colts are looking for a wild card berth, and tonight is a very pivotal game for Indianapolis. Dickerson against the league's worst rushing defense. Dan, the Denver Broncos, they come off their worst performance of the season last week against Pittsburgh, but at least they get Elway back tonight.
Yeah, John is back tonight, and while Gary Kubiak was the quarterback last week in their loss to the Steelers, it's certainly unfair to lay that loss at Kubiak's doorstep. Al mentioned the fact that this is the worst defensive team in the league statistically against the run. If they play tonight the way they played last week in Pittsburgh, we may see an NFL record tonight by Eric Dickerson. Something tells me, though, the two-time AFC West champions will play better than that.
And so here we go before a sellout crowd at the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, home of the Colts since 1984. And this town turned on, and they have been turned on and have been thinking about this night since the outset of the season as Monday Night Football comes to the Hoosier Dome. Indianapolis, last year's AFC East champions. The Broncos, of course, the AFC champions the last 2 years in a row. Hopeful of getting to the Super Bowl the third consecutive time, but a long, long road ahead. Dean Biasucci, as good as there is in the NFL right now as a place kicker, to boot it away. Ken Bell and Ricky Nattiel back to receive for the Denver Broncos. and a momentary delay as they take care of some debris on the football field. And here we go before what we know is going to be a raucous crowd, and they already are completely into it in Indianapolis. Piasucci to Natil, and Ricky from the 4-yard line. Looking to turn the corner, does at the 20, and then is run out of bounds at about the 27-yard line, tackled by Freddie Robinson. And so here is Elway. John injuring his knee and his ankle, but it was the ankle that kept him in street clothes last week at Pittsburgh. Back he comes tonight. Only 7 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, so a not too typical Elway type of season. Dorsett and Winder the running backs, Natil and Johnson the wideouts, Clarence Kay is the tight end. We'll also see a lot of Mark Jackson at wide receiver, and we'll watch Keith Bishop at left guard with a broken thumb. From the 27-yard line, Tony Dorsett takes it out to the 33. Dorsett has been carrying about 15 to 20 times a game this season, but his average only 3.7 yards per carry. Defensively now for Indianapolis, the 3-man front, Joe Klecko, who was released by the Jets, signed with Indianapolis, prolonged his career here. They love O'Brien, Alston, rookie linebacker. Young came from Seattle, the veterans Krause and Biquette. Hood and Daniel are the corners. Robinson and Pryor are the safeties, and Dorsett is stopped for no gain. Byron Darby, who sees a lot of action at nose tackle, he alternates with Klecko, makes the stop. It'll be 3rd down and 5 upcoming.
And as Denver moves into the pass situation, we talked with John Elway last night, this last week with the ankle injury from 2 weeks ago. He says that he can run to his right. He can be fleshed out and move to his right. If he has to go to his left, it's going to be very difficult. That ankle, the injury on the inside, and will make it very difficult for him to go to his left.
3rd down and 5 at the 32-yard line. Elway out of the shotgun for the first time, and incomplete. Intended for Natil and broken up by Willie Tullis, the cornerback. Tullis and the ball getting there together, and the Broncos are forced to kick.
Well, it certainly appears that the kind of week it's been here in Indianapolis with all the festivities has transmitted itself over to the football team. The Colts have taken the field at what I would call a fever pitch, to say the least. Good coverage by Tullis. Look how, not even a stutter step when he read the break by Natil, closes on the football and made a play on what was really a good pass by John Elway.
Horan has trouble with the snap, but is able to get it away. And out of bounds, and they will line it up and mark it out of bounds near the 35-yard line. Credit Horan there. We mentioned Bishop. The hand that's broken is the left hand, not the right. He's normally one of the best snappers in football. The Broncos think he is the best, but that time Horan was able to bail him out.
Keith Bishop, normally a one-handed snapper anyway, doing it predominantly with his right hand, so the Colts at least don't figure that it affects him that much, but with that cast on the left, I can't see how it can't play a part in a snap.
So now Indianapolis and their rookie quarterback, Chris Chandler, from the 31-yard line. 3rd-round draft choice out of Washington, and the top quarterback selected in last spring's draft. Goes right to the air, completes it to Brooks, and Brooks is stopped by the last man, Harden. Only Harden between Brooks and the end zone, and Harden makes the tackle, and a big gainer for the Colts on their first play from scrimmage, 39 yards.
And really a simple turn-in pattern by Billy Brooks, but Mark Haynes, number 36, is going to miss the tackle. Watch Brooks just stop, perfect delivery, and Mark Haynes just doesn't close and make the tackle, Frank.
And as we look at the defensive unit for the Broncos, 4 men on the line of scrimmage, 4 down linemen. That's not what they usually go with. Of course, Mecklenburg out of the lineup tonight with the broken thumb, gone for about 6 weeks, and they have 4 down linemen once again. This obviously the defense against Eric Dickerson.
And Dickerson's first carry nets him about 6 as he takes it to the 24-yard line. Andre Townsend and Jim Ryan converge on the tackle. Chandler looks over for the signal on a 2nd down call. Chandler picked in the 3rd round. It wasn't a banner season for quarterbacks out of college, so he was the highest selected QB in round 3. Dickerson and Bentley with Brooks and Verdun outside. Beach is the tight end, and the offensive line, a pretty good one. Hinton is back. Donaldson is the center, but Ron Salt has been dealt to Philadelphia. 2nd down and 4 at the 24-yard line. Dickerson, you'll see a lot of this tonight, and especially if it results in that sort of game. Greg Cragen makes the tackle. So Indianapolis, against a porous Denver run defense, can afford to keep it simple and keep it moving. 1st down at the 17.
Basically, Denver just going with a 4-3 defense. That's new and something they have obviously put in just because of the Dickerson.
Tell you what, they did that last time, Frank. They went with basically a 4-3 defense, like you said, but they only had 2 linebackers in there and 5 defensive backs. And Eric Dickerson went immediately on his cutback to the side of the Denver defense where they didn't have a linebacker.
Now Chandler wants a timeout. So the rookie calls for a timeout with 11:17. The Colts mounting an impressive opening drive with no score in Indianapolis. When they line up in that 4-3 with Gilbert and Boyer both in there, Cragen and Townsend would play in a 3-man situation as well.
Simon Fletcher can also get into a down position. If they want to go to 5-man line, they can do that also with Simon Fletcher, the linebacker, as Dan mentioned, only 2 of them. Rick Dennison is in the middle.
And you'll notice in the secondary, Dennis Smith is back. He had been out with a hamstring pull. Back in the lineup. 1st down, Indianapolis at the Denver 18-yard line. No score, early 1st quarter. Eric Dickerson, 3rd carry, and again, a good one as he takes it to the 12-yard line. As you might suspect, Dickerson carries the ball about 80% of the time on Indianapolis's running plays coming in tonight. Total, they carried the ball 255 times, and Dickerson 204 of those.
Eric has, I guess, gotten a lot of publicity in the last couple of days, going public with some statements along the lines that I'm the greatest running back that has ever carried the ball. And thing about it, if you examine what he has done, if you look at it on paper, it's tough to refute.
Just stating facts, man.
2nd down and 4 as he nears the 10,000-yard mark for his career. 2nd and 4. And they give it to Dickerson on a delay. Cuts it back to the outside, but this time he's wrapped up. Number 61, Andre Townsend, with the initial hit, and then Simon Fletcher came in to finish him off. So it'll be 3rd down coming up at about the 13-yard line.
Those comments by Dickerson, of course, were on the NBC pregame show yesterday when somebody asked him about Greg Bell, and he really took off on Greg Bell, of course, having a great year with the Rams.
Called him a dwarf.
Well, I was going to be kinder.
Well, McMahon called Flutie America's favorite midget. America's favorite midget had a pretty good day yesterday.
Boy, you said the crowd was going to be raucous tonight. What about us up here?
Just the facts. 3rd down and 4. Inside the 13, and Dickerson breaks the tackle. Touchdown.
The great ones do that.
Well, it's a 3-way trade that has all of the clubs involved very happy right now. Buffalo 8-1. They can't complain. They've got Bennett. Rams doing well. They're 7-2. They've got all the draft picks. And Indianapolis has this man, Eric Dickerson.
And that time, the right tackle, Joel Patton, watching from the right side of your screen, pull and trap, and Dickerson's going to run right into his back. Now, that might knock a normal man down, but somehow Eric maintains his balance, and that is a play designed to go off left tackle that he just routinely takes it off right tackle in for an easy touchdown.
So they soften him up early on the 39-yard pass from Chandler to Brooks, and then it's Dickerson for the rest of the yardage all the way into the end zone as Biasucci's extra point attempt is good, and 5 minutes and 19 seconds into the game, it's 7-0 Colts.
Right into the trap man, bounces off, easy stride into the end zone, and Dan, you sounded an ominous warning at the beginning of the show.
Bowl 5, Baltimore 16-13. Nothing like a 24-hour room service here in Indianapolis.
And who says the folks from the Midwest can't get wild?
Yeah, who said that?
Who said that?
Who did? Biasucci kicks off, fielded by Kenny Bell at the 7. And he brings it back out to the 30-yard line. Another look now at Dickerson, and as stated, this could be a very ominous note sounded on the Denver defense.
Well, you know, we've seen in the past what great rushing teams can do to the Denver Broncos, especially with big, strong, physical lines. And I think back to the Super Bowl and what the Redskins and Timmy Smith did to the Bronco defense, and they really haven't rectified their problems. They're really not any bigger. They're not any more physical up front. And if they don't do something to corral this guy, I'm not going to speculate this early in the ball game, but he's capable of astronomical numbers.
End around, Ricky Nattiel breaks a tackle in the backfield and turns it into a nice gain, a 9-yard pickup. And he's brought down from behind by Barry Krause, and there's a penalty marker down, the first of the game. This crew headed by referee Jerry Markbright.
Flags came in real late from the far sideline. I would imagine something wrong with the blocking scheme somewhere.
Against Denver, so that will negate the 9-yard pickup. Push them back 10. Meanwhile, Denver, last 36 regular season games on grass, and of course they play on grass at Mile High, 22-3-1.
Number 54, offense, first down.
That's Keith Bishop, and as you saw, 1-9 on artificial turf, and 1-9 is also their all-time road record on Monday Night Football.
Well, you don't usually put a whole lot of stock into that, but I mean, that is an amazing stat.
First and 20 from the 20-yard line. And Elway airs it out for Nattiel, and it is almost intercepted. Knocked down by Chris Good. As the pass hung, Nattiel had gotten behind Good, but Good able to get back and knock it down. It'll be second and 20.
Frank, you and I both looked at each other. When John Elway released that ball, Ricky Nattiel was a good 2 to 3 yards past Chris Good. I mean, he is beaten cleanly. Look at how far he goes by him, and then Good, sensing the ball severely underthrown. I don't know that can have anything to do with John's ankle.
I think it might, coming out. It's his right ankle, and Nattiel was stunned. John Elway's got a cannon. He could throw that ball another 20 yards. He just didn't do it.
You don't normally have to come back for an Elway pass.
Second and 20, good protection. Open man over the middle is Nattiel, and he gets about 6. They give him room underneath to roam. It's still third down and 14 at the 26-yard line with 9 minutes to go in the first quarter, and the Colts ahead 7-0.
Here's where the noise factor in the Hoosier Dome is going to come into play with the Denver offense. Third and long yardage. They'll go to the shotgun formation, at least they ordinarily would. They have a domed facility in Denver where they practice, and they practice with loudspeakers playing crowd noise all week, getting ready for tonight.
Which were broken last week, so all the players got on the sidelines and chipped in.
Third and 13. They send 4 receivers out into the pattern, and some miscommunication there with Mark Jackson and Ricky Nattiel both in the same area. And they looked at each other as if what was going on.
Too early to make a judgment, but as you watch John Elway, he really is not driving off that right foot. Now, he can throw that distance easily with his arm. He doesn't come off like he strides into it ordinarily.
It's really difficult to tell which one of those two guys was the intended receiver, but one thing for sure, it's not by design that both of them were within a couple of yards of each other downfield.
Horan having a great year, and the left-footed kicker. This one is a short kick, and it bounces sideways along the 45-yard line and is down there. So Horan averaging 46 yards a kick, and that one is just 28. So Indianapolis has it near midfield. 8:21 to go in the quarter. 7-0 Colts.
It all happened out here in the Midwest, too, didn't it?
Yep. Halloween in Indianapolis. It's a Halloween start for the Denver defense as Indianapolis rolled to a score on their first possession, and now from the 44, Chandler flushed out of the pocket and then brought down at the 44-yard line. Got back to the line of scrimmage. Freddie Gilbert, number 90, and Walt Boyer, 65, are right there. It'll be second down, 10. Chandler out of Washington, and again, we mentioned not a big year for quarterbacks last season, so Indianapolis figured they had Hogeboom and they had Trudeau, and Hogeboom started the season number 1, then Trudeau moved in. He got hurt. And here he is, a man who was number 3 on their depth chart, and now number 1, and has been since the 4th week of the season. 2nd and 9 at the 45-yard line. That's Matt Booza in motion. And over the middle, underthrown, intended for Booza. Low throw, 3rd down 9.
It's about as bad as you could throw it, as a matter of fact. He threw it low, he threw it behind him. He had all the protection in the world. The one thing Chris Chandler does give you is the added capability of being able to move out of that pocket. He's a good runner, a good scrambler. That ball was poorly thrown. Booza wide open over the middle. Could have got the first down, but Chandler will scramble. You'll have to be watching him all the time.
3rd down 9. Colts from the 45. Bentley and Dickerson are the running backs. And Andre Townsend, unless he was drawn off,
Pretty quick
will be
start.
the guilty party. Yeah.
Pretty quick start. No, I think that's going to be on Denver all the way. Unless someone had a little twitch that I couldn't see, but Townsend really got off to a fast start. He's not even complaining either. No, he was clearly across the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball.
So Jerry Markwright and his crew discuss it. Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, a longtime Denver assistant.
Hey, a brilliant one he is, too. He's been doing a lot of things with mirrors over the past 2 or 3 years with a very small team.
First ball, number 61, defense. 3rd down.
Good look at Townsend. He'll be the second one up, and he's just guessing on the snap count, and defensive linemen will do that a lot, especially with a young quarterback who fall into a rhythm of using the same snap count all the time.
Now it's the veteran quarterback, Gary Hogeboom, and here's the wishbone. They went to the wishbone last week against San Diego, and they bring it out again tonight, and this time they send Wansley in motion on 3rd down and 4, and Hogeboom has his pass tipped and incomplete, intended for Pat Beach. So last week against San Diego, they lined up in a wishbone late in the game. In fact, scored a touchdown on a pass to Booza out of the wishbone. They've been practicing it all week with Hogeboom and utilized it here early.
And Darrell Royal turned down Willie Nelson and took another look.
Darrell Royal, longtime Texas coach and a man who made the wishbone famous with the Longhorns in the late 60s, early 70s. Ricky Nattiel to receive, Ron Stark to kick. Halfway through the first quarter. High booming punt. Nattiel falls for the fair catch. That's just a decoy though, and it takes a good Indianapolis bounce and is down at the 6-yard line. So Denver pin deep. 7:13 to play. First quarter, 7-0 Colts. Mass penalties in Indianapolis tonight. Halloween night at the Hoosier Dome. Well, you talk about a monster defense.
Boy, that scared me. Got these fans in with icebreakers. Oh, you guys are so cute down in the truck.
Denver starts at its own 7-yard line in the noisy Hoosier Dome, and Sammy Winder takes it out to the 13-yard line. Funny thing about Winder, here's a guy who's been around his 7th year in the league. He's never averaged 4 yards a carry until now, and part of the reason is a lot of the pressure was taken off with Tony Dorsett coming over from Dallas. He's been the main man, and Winder has been his backup. Even though the two line up together off times, Winder has about half of Dorsett's carries. There he is through his career, a 3.7 average. Picked up 6 there, 2nd and 4. Give it to Winder again. And he takes the ball out to the 16-yard line. It'll be 3rd and about 1.5 yards. Barry Krause and Dwayne Pickett make the tackles.
I guess the Broncos did spend some time watching the tapes of last year's Super Bowl. On 2 consecutive plays now, they've run the old counter gap play, made famous by the Redskins. Once to the left, that time they came back to the right. And I guess Danny's no dummy. If it works for somebody else, there's no reason why it can't work for you. Hard to find a team without it today.
3rd and 1. from the 16. Orson Mobley is the man in motion. And Elway on a roll finds Pat Kelly. Fumble if he has possession, and Indianapolis has it. And a flag goes down. Pat Kelly, the number 3 tight end, had a first down, coughed it up, and Chris Good recovers.
Flag was again very late. I think it's going to be Barry Krause, the inside linebacker, that strips the ball. When Kelly releases and just runs about a 2-yard pattern downfield, Barry Krause comes all the way out from the middle and makes a play. Makes the hit and brings out the ball.
Mark right here.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 88. After the play was over. First down.
That's Clarence Kay, and that'll push the ball all the way to the 10-yard line.
All right, look at Barry Krause, number 55 to the left. Now watch him hustle out here. He's going to hit Kelly from behind, and you know, Kelly never really put that ball away.
You know what he was trying to do, Dan? He was trying to put it into his right arm.
Get it away from Krause. You're exactly right.
And he had the first down. Watch once again. He'll get it in the left arm. Now he tries to switch it back like he should to run with it in the right arm. It's gone.
It is gone, and the hustling Colts make the fumble recovery and more laundry.
On a 1st and goal, the nose of the ball was right at the 10, so they can't get a first down without a touchdown.
False start, number 64, offense. First down.
That's Ben Utt. It pushes the ball back to the 15-yard line. Meanwhile, Kelly was in the game, the rookie out of Syracuse, the number 3 tight end. They had 3 tight ends in on that formation, 3rd and 1. That's his first ever NFL catch, but one he'd like to forget. 1st and goal. Now Chandler back in. Holgaboom has won 1 play out of the wishbone. Dickerson cuts it back to the outside and steps out of bounds after a gain of 4 at the 11. He's run out of bounds by the cornerback Jeremiah Castile. 5:44 to go. First quarter, 7-0 Colts, who are looking for their 3rd consecutive victory.
How do you defend a running back who just takes the football and really has not only the abilities, but I guess the latitude from his coaching staff to go anywhere he wants to go? There is a play that was clearly designed to the right side of the offensive formation, and Dickerson takes it all the way and breaks containment going outside to the left.
2nd and goal from the 11. They give it to Dickerson. And Dickerson has his 2nd touchdown. Mark Boyer threw the block to spring him. And with 5:39 to go in the corner, if Biasucci kicks it through, it'll be 14-0.
How do you defend him? I don't know. He's a big man. He has great strength. He does not look like he's covering the yardage as quickly as he is. You take an angle on him, you get there a little late, and when you get there late, your arm tackling, he just runs right through it.
Number 55, Rick Dennison, the linebacker, coming out to the inside. No chance to get there. It just looks easier when Dickerson does it because he's so gifted.
14-0 in the 7 prior games in the history of the Colt-Bronco rivalry. The Colts had never scored a first quarter touchdown, and they have 2 here tonight. They lead 14-0, and the Broncos have to think back to last week against Pittsburgh when they were blown out early and never recovered.
Look at this natural hole. The Broncos are going to go upfield and inside. Here's Rick Dennison. His job is to scrape into this hole and make the play on Eric Dickerson. And watch how Dennison, a little slow to read it, and then late in getting there and gets picked off. That is his play all the way. A linebacker is assigned a hole primarily, Frank, and Dennison, for whatever reason, didn't get there.
And they are playing a defense in which Dennison is not familiar. It would be more like a Dallas Cowboy, middle linebacker in the Dallas Cowboy defense, and he is a strong inside linebacker. It's the little moment of hesitancy that was the difference. He had to try the arm tackle and forget it was Dickerson.
And, of course, the loss of Mecklenburg to the Bronco defensive team has thrown them totally into turmoil. forced him into the 4-3, and you never really can play something different as well as you play what you do all the time. Well, the Denver Broncos, unfortunately, not getting off to any better start than they got off last week against Pittsburgh. Keep in mind, how bad were they manhandled by the Steelers last week? They were trailing 24-0 before they got their first down in the ball game. That was late in the second quarter.
And here they're down 14-0 as Biasucci kicks off. He angles it. It's fielded up at the 11-yard line by Jason Johnson, who was activated for tonight's game. He's a wide receiver. He brings it back out to the 28. He is stopped there by Jeff Harrod. So John Elway, who missed last week's game, Kubiak guided them, and then Ken Karcher came in at the end and wound up throwing a touchdown pass. And Elway down by 14 to lead him from the 27. Now Cleveland with Kosar healthy, Houston with Moon healthy, both winning yesterday. Each team a game back of Cincinnati AFC Central. That's the matchup from the Astrodome a week from tonight. Cleveland and Houston on Monday Night Football. First and 10, Denver from the 28-yard line, and the whistle stopped the play before the snap.
A whole lot of things wrong with that one. Well, first of all, Joe Klecko was across the line of scrimmage at the snap. I don't know if somebody moved or not, but looks like Big Joe got the
Full start, number 66, offense, first down.
Well, that's a sign of a veteran. Jim Juriga, the left tackle, is the guy that moves, and Klecko sees it, and no use waiting. Get across that line of scrimmage, force the penalty, and he did it. Big tackle out of Illinois, Jim Juriga.
First and 15. 2 punts and a fumble and a first and 15, and they're down 14-0. Elway much too high. Intended for Vance Johnson. Second and 15. Eugene Daniel with the coverage on the play.
John has struggled all year long, not just tonight when he's coming back from a very severely injured ankle a couple of weeks ago, but coming into tonight. 7 touchdown passes, 11 interceptions. Just not a John Elway year. We watched him and we talked to him last night. A 24-0 lead. The Raiders coming back to beat the Broncos, and John, he took full blame for it.
Shotgun and a mocking Elway chant a la Darrell for Strawberry on second and 15. The catch is made by Natil, and Ricky is dropped at the 32-yard line, short of the first down by about 5. Barry Krause in on the tackle on one of the 3 amigos, and they're all back together. Natil and Johnson and Mark Jackson, who suffered a broken collarbone earlier this season, healthy again, the former Purdue Boilermaker.
Homecoming of sorts for Jackson. He had to dispense numerous tickets, couldn't get as many as he wanted for family and friends coming to the game tonight here in Indianapolis, and it's a real break for John Elway to finally get these 3 guys back and get the 3 of them healthy, and when he finally does, it's Elway that's not healthy.
Third down 4, Denver from the 33-yard line. And Elway throws, and he first down, and the price is paid by Vance Johnson, hit hard by Willie Tullis. But a first down for Denver out at the 41-yard line with 4.5 minutes to go in the quarter.
You know, this is what they should be able to do all night, Denver. If they keep it short, keep it underneath, because this defense of Indianapolis is not any great shakes. They are 25th against the pass coming into tonight. You keep it short, you get your confidence back and get something happening, and I think that probably is what Dan Reeves is thinking about right at the moment. We've got to make something happen here.
They normally do it through the air. Dorsett last night was lamenting the fact, he said, when we fall behind 3-0, we go to the air. Unlike Dallas. They fake to Dorsett. Elway going to the air again, and down he goes in a heap at the 28-yard line. The charge led by O'Brien Alston, a 10th round draft pick out of Maryland.
And Frank told you a little bit earlier about how John Elway confessed to us last night that if he has to go to his left, he's in trouble. Well, this time his pressure comes from the right. If John is going to get away, he's going to have to go left to escape the rush of Alston, and he's not able to do it. And it's not often you'll see John Elway back in the pocket, set some trouble coming from a certain direction, and just stand there and take the sack. He'd be gone now. Yep. Get it. And he tried to go right even at that point. Yeah, he knew it's the only way he can go. Right into the rush.
Second and 21. He steps up and then fires complete, and If it is complete, it's a fumble, and it's picked up and run back to the 23-yard line. A completed pass, and it's Craig Swope who gives Indianapolis the ball after Mark Jackson fumbles.
And I don't believe that's the homecoming that Jackson had in mind. A look at it from the reverse angle. It's going to be coming right at you. John had to scramble a little bit, set himself up well. And there's the catch by Jackson. And wow, another hit by Tullis. This guy has been all over the football tonight. And an easy play for Swope. They're going to take a look at this, I imagine, on instant replay.
He has to get both feet down with possession.
Let's take a look at it from this angle.
Good effort by Elway. We told you he had a tough time moving to the left. He just arms it back to the right. Now, did he have it? He was bobbling it around, but they're going to let it stand.
Craig Swope with the recovery. Ball is at the 22-yard line. 1st and 10 on what's begun as a nightmarish Halloween for the Denver Broncos. At the 22-yard line, Indianapolis on top 14-0. Replay booth said the replay was inconclusive. That's why they did not overrule. Dickerson. He just draws up his own running pattern, doesn't he, at the 18-yard line? It doesn't matter where the blocking is.
Well, they let him do that. That play is designed. They just blow forward, and then he takes about a half a beat, takes a little stutter step, and he goes wherever he wants to go.
Well, look at that.
Already done that tonight.
That's about 8 years worth.
This is a team that has regained their confidence. You could just feel it. The couple of days that we've been here, they feel very strong that they can get back in and perhaps pull a wild card out, even though they're 3-5 coming into the night.
2nd and 5 from the 18-yard line. Dickerson again. He's already scored twice. And a first down at the 11-yard line, and that Denver defense, porous to begin with, last in the league against the run, and minus Mecklenburg, unable to do anything to stop Indianapolis. 2:22 to play in the quarter.
They've been giving up an average of 158 yards rushing, and they have been giving up a lot of big plays. Now, Eric Dickerson has not had a lot of big plays this year, so perhaps we can anticipate some of that coming up.
He had 169 yards last week against San Diego, but no run longer than 14. 1st and 10 at the 12. Dickerson again, and he adds to his league-leading rushing total. Earlier, we showed you the graphic when he gets to the 1,000-yard mark this season, and that would seem to be an easy goal for him, assuming he's not injured. It will be the 6th consecutive year he's done it, and only 2 other guys in the history of the NFL have done that, Franco Harris and Walter Payton.
I don't think anyone's done it the first 6 years of their career, have they?
Nobody in their first 6. Dorsett and he are the only who've done it in their first 5, and Harris and Payton are the only who have ever done it 6 consecutive seasons.
He's done a lot of things no one has ever done. He's going to do a lot more.
2nd down and 7 from the 9. His 4th straight carry is almost his 3rd touchdown. It's 1st and goal at the 1.
Well, this is a physical mismatch up front. It's strictly a case of the Colt offensive line just dominating the front 7 of the Denver Broncos. Eric Dickerson is slashing and running hard, but he is following just a tidal wave of blue jerseys that's blowing everything in a white shirt out of there. Keep in mind, across the front, the Broncos, 265, 260, 260, 225. They're outweighed by 40 pounds a guy up front.
And here comes the wishbone, because here's Hogaboom. Here's the wishbone. With Dickerson as the left halfback. Wansley and Bentley are the other backs. They give it to Dickerson, and his 5th straight carry is his 3rd touchdown of the night.
They could have scored on the neck bone. Just give it to him.
And that equals his career high. In one game, 3 touchdowns, and he has done it in 14 minutes and 44 seconds.
So that'll make good headlines for tomorrow, but they could have got him in there just about any way they wanted to. Watch this line, sir. Dan talked about it a moment ago. It's going to be very close. I think they were probably ready to give it to him.
Ooh, I don't think he was in. Ooh, I don't think he was in. It looked like Eric Dickerson bounced about a foot short of the goal line.
It's almost moved because even had he not gotten in a second and goal, I would have liked their chances.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that explanation is going to cut it in Denver.
No. All you have to do is touch that goal line with the ball as long as he was in the air, and it appeared that that might have been the case.
Biasucci with the extra point.
You know, Al, I want to go back to that point about the mismatch up front. Check out the front wall of the Colts as we look at it again. 295, 290, 288, 286, and 307. There is no way that the Denver Broncos can sit in there for an entire ball game and play hardball with the Colts of Indianapolis.
Dan, didn't we say that about the second quarter of the Super Bowl with the Redskins and the same defensive unit? Let's look again now. Did he get in?
I think he got in.
I think when he comes down, as long as the knee is not touched, if that ball touches the goal line, you got 6 out of it.
Well, I'll be the devil's advocate. I don't think he got in.
I think he got in. I think that the nose of the football just touched the goal line.
Oh, what do you know? We're 60 yards away from it.
What do you know? You're sitting here with a 9,000-inch telestrator. Come on.
The fact of the matter is, there's Al.
Who is that?
Oh, who puffed that one up?
They got a picture of your ego.
Oh, no, come on. Oh, come on. Oh, man. Come on, Frank. We're out of here.
Elvira's going to do the second quarter.
They give great color.
Kenny Bell from the goal line. Back out to the 21-yard line. Orlando Lowry. Yeah. That's Mark Spitz on the left there.
That would be scarier. I have to admit, I've never had any of those. I wear those big boxers with flowers on them.
That's not what Debbie said.
I play golf in green paths with alligators on them.
Look at this baby.
Lifetime.
I don't know if the dome can hold that one. More hot air, huh? First and 10 from the 21-yard line. Dorsett. Tackled by Thompson. And that's the final play of the first quarter. And a dream quarter for the Indianapolis Colts. Monday Night Football in Indiana for the first time ever. 21-0. Back after this message and a word from your local station.
240 SS.
You know, in a way, you could almost feel this coming, the way Denver played last week against Pittsburgh, and with Dickerson and Indianapolis has it together, and this town going wild, they couldn't have asked for a better first quarter.
And I think one of the things that we have to do,
as the second quarter begins with a fumble,
what a nightmare.
And the second quarter begins the way the first quarter ends, with a fumble by Denver and a recovery by Klecko of the Colts.
The worst fears, I think, of Danny Reeves, Denver Bronco fans, maybe perhaps themselves, are being realized tonight. Pittsburgh mauled him last week. Danny Reeves said, perhaps the worst game I've seen since I've been here. We didn't try, we didn't play. Perhaps they played it harder than he thought.
The Broncos already turning it over 3 times. Chandler asked for quiet at the 19-yard line. And it's Dickerson who takes it to the 14. It'll be second down and 5. Boyer and Townsend in on the tackle. Of course, the Broncos were on the other side of the Monday night comeback that we saw this year in Denver when they had a 24-0 lead, and that went away as the Raiders wound up winning in overtime.
a lot of questions, I think, are going to be answered tonight by the Denver Broncos as to where this franchise is headed. If they don't reverse this tide of the Colts tonight, if this continues, I think this franchise is in trouble for a while to come.
Second down and 6 from the 15-yard line. It's Dickerson again, and this time they stop him after a gain of 1. Simon Fletcher, number 73, trips him up along with help from Rick Dennison. It'll be 3rd down and 5. Elway was telling us last night that loss to the Raiders when they blew the 24-0 lead was as tough as the 2 Super Bowl defeats. He said he really wanted to win that game, in particular because Mike Shanahan, his quarterback coach over the past several seasons at Denver, is now, of course, the Raiders head coach. 3rd down, 5 from the 14. For Brooks off his fingertip.
But he had him. Denver coming in the full blitz had forced the single coverage, and Brooks was wide open. And working against Jeremiah Castile, that's an easy touchdown if Chandler's able to deliver this ball. Look at Brooks well out in front of Jeremiah Castile. If that's a well-thrown pass, it's a 28-0 ball game.
Now a 32-yard field goal attempt coming for Dean Biasucci. This is an automatic for him. He's made 27 straight, make it 29 straight from 45 in. 31-yard attempt. Officially, as it will be spotted outside the 21-yard line. Clark puts it down. And he splits the uprights.
Does that jump off that foot? He's having a great year. 4 50-yarders already.
24-0. 24 all in overtime. Bob Thomas tries to win it with a 47-yard field goal for the Chargers. Blocked by Dennis Smith. Picked up by Louis Wright, who takes it in for a touchdown. Broncos beat the Chargers 30-24. Indianapolis on top 24-0. 13-22 to play in the first half. Already a very active night with a field goal and 3 extra points. A yard in, it's Kenny Bell coming out with it. Cuts back the other way and returns it to the 28-yard line. So from there will the Broncos begin this drive. And the average possession start in this game, a significant difference. Denver beginning at its own 23, and Indianapolis at the Denver 35, and of course in good measure that has resulted from the 3 turnovers.
That's Mike Ruther at center. He's Bill Bryan's backup, and he was the center in there the last series when Elway and Ruther mishandled the snap.
From the 28-yard line, Elway fires over the middle, and it's dropped by Orson Mobley at the 34-yard line.
Bryan is on the sidelines. Nobody attending him. He appears to be all right, so that's obviously just a change, but it could have affected the exchange between Elway and the center, Ruther. Well, Ruther and Elway certainly haven't had the experience that this guy, Bill Bryan, and John Elway have had. Ruther, a guy that played in the USFL, played with the St. Louis Cardinals while they were still in St. Louis, and now backing up here in Indianapolis, but tonight, in Denver rather, but here tonight in Indianapolis, having to play.
On 2nd and 10, down goes Elway at the 17-yard line. John Hand, 2 years ago, the #1 pick in the draft out of Alabama. He's shown signs of brilliance in 3 years, but has yet to emerge as the type of star they expected when he was drafted out of Alabama.
And does he go around Jim Juriga, the left tackle, like Juriga is just having his feet in cement? What an outside move that time by John Hand. A guy not quite in the category of a Reggie White or a Bruce Smith. And boy, he gave that guy, Juriga, all he wanted last time around.
3rd and 19 from the shotgun. 4 receivers out into the pattern. Elway on that gimpy ankle, and he can't go anywhere. Craig Swope, who recovered the fumble earlier, gets credit for the sack on the safety blitz.
Got to be the ankle. There is not the mobility tonight with John Elway that we have watched over the years. Could not play at all last week. It's the right ankle, and he drifts off to the right, tries to get outside to the right because he really can't go to the left. Comes back to the left. He just has to take it down himself. And I think that's a classic situation where we would have seen Elway do some sort of a reverse pivot, a spin out. Oh, he'd still be running. Yep, not capable of it tonight.
And they've changed snappers. It's Keith Parch instead of Bishop who does the snapping. Horan's kick is fielded at the 46-yard line by Bill Brooks, and he takes it to the 41. So again, Indianapolis starts with terrific field position. 11:54 to go in the half. 24-0 Indianapolis. Indianapolis. A nightmare for Denver and a great night for the Colts as Monday Night Football comes to Indiana for the first time ever. Broncos huddling on the sideline after the last series. They're already down 24-0.
Team meeting or team prayer? I don't know. Both.
Indianapolis at the 41-yard line. And Dickerson's huge night continues. His fourth touchdown.
There could not be a more basic play in football than the Colts just ran and stuffed it down the Denver Broncos' throat. Just blew them out. Straight away blocking. Everybody in a white shirt being pushed backwards, and this guy just explodes through it like no one else belongs on the field with him. You know, again, he's so big and so fast. Even in the secondary, as they came down on him, they take that long angle, and they end up trying to get to him with an arm, and you never will get him with an arm.
Dierdorf tacks on point number 31. Collier, who watched his defense shredded last week and annihilated tonight. Colts making it look like a scrimmage.
Well, their names are Chris Hinton, Randy Dixon, Ray Donaldson, Ben Hutt, and Joel Patton. And look how they just disintegrate the Broncos defensively. And that guy can scoop. But there again, the bad angles coming down from the secondary. All of a sudden, you realize he has kicked in that afterburner, and all you have is a chance to arm tackle him, and you can't do it.
That's the 50th time in his career he has run for over 100 yards. He's already picked up 112, and the game is not even 19 minutes old.
It's the longest run of the season for him also, isn't it?
It ties his longest.
Well, the night's not over.
Yeah, right. It may be for Denver.
It might be determined only by stamina how far he'll go tonight. There are those that talk, and there are those that talk and then back it up. And he be one of those. This guy can say whatever he wants to say about himself. Eric Dickerson, articulate, and at the same time confident in his own abilities, and this guy can get it done. He's not arrogant. He just says what he believes, what he feels. They asked him a question, he answered it.
It's a pretty good company right there as he eclipses the marks held by Amici and Moore, among others. Most rushing touchdowns in the game, and he's done it with 11:47 to go in the first half. Dierdorf kicks off. Taken at the 5-yard line by Jason Johnson. And the just activated Johnson pays the price. Fred Young, the linebacker, and of course Young really made his mark early on with Seattle as a special teamer. And he shows Johnson why.
Well, he went to 2 Pro Bowls as a special team player for Seattle before he started going on a regular basis as an inside linebacker.
And a flag down, Mark Bright.
Illegal block on the return. First down.
Against Denver.
You know, I hate to coach here to think about it, but I'm not for sure John Elway should be in this game. He can't do what he does. And he is
just not the great quarterback that he is when he can't run around. And he also could hang around back there and get hurt.
And the crowd loves to mock him. And, of course, it was John who passed up the chance to sign with the Colts, not when they were in Indianapolis, but in Baltimore. Then the franchise moved. And, of course, he cast his lot and very successfully with Denver. Dorsett picks up 3, takes it to the 13, and another marker is down, I think, for a face mask on Klecko.
Well, Klecko is just disrupting everything. I don't know if Joe is guessing correctly on the snap count or what, but he's just exploding into the Denver backfield before anyone in a white shirt's able to block him. Once he's in there, look at Mike Ruther just tackling the center, but a good look there how Klecko does get the face mask of Dorsett. But it looked like Ruther was tackling Joe Klecko at the same time.
Personal foul. Grabbing the face mask. Number 73, defense. First down.
I talked to Joe just before the game, and he said, oh, look. He said, I couldn't help it. But, I mean, you're going to see right here once again.
Look at Ruther tackling him from behind.
A couple of fouls right there. But Klecko says he's finally coming around. He has much more movement now, and we've seen it tonight. He is very quick.
Broncos just happy to have a first down. And Winder takes it out to the 30-yard line. He picks up 2. It'll be second down, 8. It's almost back to the basics here for Denver. They're down 31-0. They're staying on the ground. They just need to get something, anything established at this point.
That's Gary Kubiak, who played last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was not scintillating there, although it was the Steelers' defense that was scintillating. He had a 3 interceptions a week ago in that 39-21 loss.
From the 30 on 2nd and 8. With Mobley in motion. Elway, good protection, and he hits Johnson for a first down at the Indianapolis 47-yard line. Vance Johnson cutting across the middle. The tackle made by Eugene Daniels.
Good protection that time by the Denver Bronco offensive line. All the time Elway needed. That pass takes a long time. Vance Johnson taking you way upfield. You see him cross underneath as it's cleared out by Mark Jackson. First down at the Colts 47-yard line. And Elway going deep for Mark Jackson, and he makes the catch at the 2-yard line. A great catch. The coverage by Chris Good, and Jackson making the catch and staying in bounds at the 2. First and goal. Well thrown. Great reception and good coverage by Good.
And just an excellent study and concentration here by Mark Jackson. Watch him concentrate on the football. Really good coverage by Good, as Frank said, but look at Jackson continue to move downfield and yet concentrate, keeping his eyes on the ball. I mean, you can't fault anyone here. Excellent throw, excellent route and catch, and really good coverage by Good.
Jackson, of course, has to think where his feet are, both having to come down in bounds, and he concentrates, pulls it in, holds onto it, both feet in bounds.
They are reviewing it. And it showed it clearly, but that's the delay right now. The replay official is George Sladke.
I don't know what they could be looking at other than this replay right here, and it's certainly clear that both feet are down. And there's one, there's the other.
And not bobbling the ball. No, good possession.
Come on, guys. Denver is down by 31 points. Let's not be too tough on them.
But they're still looking at it. Now they confirm the call, we understand. Val Pinchback on the left is the communicator. They just have to communicate it to the field, and then Mark Wright will tell us the play stands.
Got a chance to see Jerry Mark Wright informing everyone that 76 for Denver is in there now as the tight end. And, of course, Ken Lanier.
Well, they're having a problem with the communication equipment, obviously, and that's why Mark Wright is waiting as they go to the backup.
The play stands. First down.
So it'll be be first and goal at the 2. 31-0 Indianapolis. 9:58 to go in the half. Winder and Dorsett in the I formation with Dorsett the tailback. Elway fakes it and throws into the end zone. Caught for a touchdown. Steve Sewell making the catch, and so Denver goes the length of the field. It's a long way back, but at least the Broncos are on the way back.
And what a throw by John Elway. I mean, that was a pass again where Chris Good was the defender with the coverage, and he was in good position as well. But John just throws this right in there. That's not bad by Good. Look how he's in front of Sewell. That's just a perfect pass.
And a lot of smoke on it. Also 3 good passes by Elway, but perhaps more importantly, good protection for him because he is not the mobile Elway that we watched in the past with that ankle.
Carlos's extra point is good, so at least the Broncos don't just roll over and die. They go 90 yards, led by Elway. 9:54 to go in the half. Indianapolis now leading 31-7. In Indianapolis, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Dierdorf. 31-7 Colts. Broncos just driving for a touchdown. Carlos kicks off, and it bounces at the 3 and then bounces out of bounds. So it'll come back to the 35-yard line where the Colts take over the euchre seats, as you might suspect, in the nether regions of the Hoosier Dome. Did you get them their tickets, Frank?
What a happy crowd, though.
No, but we know who did.
Yeah, right. We sure do.
My nose is not broken that badly.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot help it. My features are distinctive.
You're right. Larry Zonka.
My nose isn't broken that bad.
At the 35-yard line, the Colts with Chandler. And Dickerson behind him, who's already run for 4 touchdowns. And Eric picks up 5. He's already rushed for 117 yards at this point with 9:39 to play in the first half. Dickerson, if you're thinking about the record, most rushing touchdowns in the game. In 1929, Ernie Nevers with the then Chicago Cardinals rushed for 6. Jim Brown, Cookie Gilchrist each with 5. If you're wondering about Gale Sayers, he did score 6 in a game, but 4 by rushing. 1 on a pass, 1 on a return.
Maybe it bodes well for Denver. We didn't say who it was against by Nevers.
2nd and 5 from the 40. On a draw, it's Dickerson. And he takes it out to the 44-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
Eric Dickerson, he is a different person than he was in L.A. Lives a very quiet life here. Likes to tell you about it. He's the Travelers' Man of the Year for the Indianapolis Colts. First for his activities off the field as well as on. And as I said, he's a much different Eric Dickerson here in Indianapolis. And of course, the Travelers' Man of the Year for the NFL will be announced at the Super Bowl coming up.
And he just hit the 1,000-yard mark with 121 tonight. And out of the wishbone with Hogaboom calling the signals. That's Wansley's first carry of the night. Wansley played in a wishbone offense at Mississippi State. The funny thing about the Colts is they have only 3 running backs on their entire roster. Dickerson, Bentley, and Wansley. And so when they go to the wishbone, you're seeing the whole bench.
And Hogaboom is going to stay in the ball game, so they're going to stay with the wishbone.
He was a kind of a beer quarterback when he was at Central Michigan before going off to the Dallas Cowboys.
From the 41, boy, it looks crazy to see an NFL team line up in the wishbone. And it's Wansley for a gain of 1. Remember last year during the strike, Bill Walsh brought the wishbone out for San Francisco's replacement team.
More of
the Giants.
Joke, though, than anything else. You know, Darryl Royal was telling Ron Myers when they talked this past week, said, look, the shots these quarterbacks are getting now in the NFL anyway from when they drop back to pass. What's the difference? At least they're on balance.
UCLA now number 6 taking on Oregon. Minnesota against Michigan. Check your local listings or college football presentations this coming Saturday. 2nd down and 9 from the 47-yard line, and Hogaboom going deep for Brooks. despite Haynes having position, and then runs it in for a touchdown. Underthrown, Haynes was there, still makes the catch, goes in for the score.
When the ball is that underthrown, in many instances, the advantage goes to the receiver because he's more tuned into the football. And if the defender, this time Mark Haynes, if he's not right on the ball, it's really advantage receiver to be able to come back and make a play on it.
Watch Haynes. He'll turn a sprint, take his eye off the ball, and that's when he loses it.
He never did see the ball after that point.
And it's too late to get back, and pretty nifty running by Bill Brooks, the most consistent of all of these Colts receivers.
Diasucci for the point after. We still have 7:08 to play in the half. And Indianapolis has already scored 38 points. Franchise record most points in a half by the Colts when they were in Baltimore, 42 and a half in 1956 against the Rams.
Play action didn't mean anything to Mark Haynes. He was man for man all the way, didn't even see the play action, but when he took his eyes off the ball to get into the sprint, to run side by side with Bill Brooks, he lost it. Brooks comes back, gets it easily, but then he makes a pretty nifty move here about the 10-yard line to get it in.
This has to feel awful good to Gary Hogaboom, who really has been relegated to second-team status. And Billy Brooks, rather than just going down, decides to make something happen and stay alive after the catch. And a magical night. I don't know what else you can say.
Not much victory left, not even for the overs and unders bettors at this point. 38-7. That's more points than the Colts have scored in any complete game this season.
One of the mysteries might be just how far Dickerson is going to go tonight. If they indeed let him go, the Colts have another rusher who probably would be a 1,000-yard rusher on any other team in Albert Bentley. So it's just a question of how much they want to turn Dickerson loose tonight. As a running back, if I were a running back, say, oh, let me have this one. You could really run the numbers up.
Diasucci from the 4-yard line. Jason Johnson tackled out at the 32. Stop made there by Jeff Perrott. And the Broncos, who drove 90 yards the last time they had the ball, start from that spot. Eric Dickerson. A king's ransom worth of draft choices going to the Rams, and Cornelius Bennett going to Buffalo, and all three teams pretty happy with that transaction right now. The New York City Marathon, the annual great race through the 5 boroughs, coming up this Sunday, 10:30 in the morning Eastern and Pacific, 9:30 Central. The Nissan Indy Challenge, Sunday as well at 4 Eastern, 3 Central and Pacific. Elway on a deep drop sets up a screen for Dorsett. And Tony has a first down. He's run out of bounds up at the 46-yard line. Tony Dorsett, talking to him last night, and Dan, you asked him if he was going to play next season. He was pretty definitive.
Yeah, he said he wanted to play one more year, and he thinks that he's still in the physical condition to do so, and frankly, so do I. He's not really hidden the fact that he doesn't feel that he's been utilized to his potential here in Denver, and a good example of that is I think he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. That's only his 12th reception of the football season.
First and 10 from the 47-yard line. And they give it to Tony D. Fumble at the 47-yard line, and another Colt recovery. Donnell Thompson with the football. 4 turnovers for Reeves' Broncos. John Hand stripped the football.
Hey, when it goes like this, you're having fun out there. Donnell Thompson, all of these Colts are having fun. They'll be in there trying to strip the football, and when you have this kind of a lead, 38-0, you can take a lot of risk. You can take a risk even missing the tackle.
Let's
go in for it.
Let's see if Freddie Young, the linebacker, isn't the guy who puts the shot on Dorsett. Watch Freddie Young here to the right of your screen scrape in. Yeah, see, he puts the shoulder on Tony, and he knocks the ball out. John Hand comes in second, and then Donnell Thompson doesn't really have to do much of anything. He's down on the ground, and the ball comes right to his midsection. But Freddie Young played that perfectly. Scraped off, read the lineman pulling through the hole, and put the shoulder right on the football.
Oh, and we talked about the draft picks and players involved in the Eric Dickerson deal, and there were a whole lot of eyebrows raised when Freddie Young came from Seattle for 2 number-1 draft picks earlier in the year. They are happy here, however, in Indianapolis.
From the 46-yard line, Chandler back in at quarterback, and he throws, and a fingertip stretching, reaching catch made by Matt Booza, and the crowd with a Booza chant. Scored a touchdown last week against San Diego.
And Dan Reeves on the far sideline. You can't tell me that somewhere in the back of his mind he's not saying to himself, it's 38-7 and they're running play action pass on first down when they get the ball in our territory. Aggressive play calling by the Colts. Why not?
And just living out frustrations, too. They have had a tough season coming into tonight. They've won the last 2, but they feel they're all together once again.
From the 28-yard line, it's Dickerson for a gain of 3 to the 25.
Remember, we saw them in Cleveland. That offensive line was decimated with injuries, the holdout of Ron Salt. And we asked Eric Dickerson that day, you sure you want to go out there tonight?
Yeah, because Chris Hinton, their all-pro left tackle, didn't play. And listen to the hand for Dickerson. Standing O.
1,004 yards. The season just passed the halfway mark. Of course, he holds the all-time record. Only he and O.J. Simpson have ever gone over the 2,000 figure. 2nd and 7 from the 25-yard line. Albert Bentley to the 23. Bentley's a real good running back, but when you've got a fellow like Dickerson as your main man in the backfield, you're going to relegate Bentley to a reserve role.
More than that, Al, he's quite a quality guy. He was on his way to what could have been a 1,500-yard season a year ago himself. All of a sudden, just 1 year ago, on Halloween night, they made a trade for Eric Dickerson, and all of a sudden, Albert Bentley was relegated to the secondary role, and he gets, well, coming into tonight, only 16 attempts.
Here we go with a wishbone again. Hogaboom in the game. 3rd and 5 from the 23. Looks like Barry Switzer designed the play. Bentley gets stopped after a pickup of 1.
Did you see who was the lead blocker on that play? Eric Dickerson. He came out and really put a good block on Dennis Smith. And Eric Dickerson, a little more than just a ball carrier. I think we'll get a look at it. Look at Dickerson to the left here. He's going to take on Dennis Smith, and really an effective block. Kicks him to the outside, lifts him up, spins him around. Look at this. Get after him, Eric.
What was he running down in SMU? Did they use a lot of wishbone?
I don't think so. Not at that point. They also had Gary Craig James in the backfield as part of the Pony Express. Biasucci's 40-yard field goal attempt is no good.
Ooh, he hooked it into the woods.
The only thing that hasn't gone right tonight.
So he had a long streak going from inside 45. And that's a pretty good time to have it come to a halt when you've got a 31-point lead.
Tough for this guy to be overly upset about Biasucci's miss.
Well, he has to be so happy with the turn of the fortunes for this team. He, of course, led Indianapolis to an AFC East championship a year ago. At the beginning of this season, they had holdouts all over the place. They had injuries. They got off to a terrible start, 1-5, and they still think they can get back in it. Flecko once again.
Joe's really...
he's playing this one for the Jets.
He's anxious. I had a nice talk with Joe before the ball game.
Encroachment foul, number 73, defense.
At least he's enjoying the game. You can see that this guy's heart is still in. He said where he made a mistake was he came back too fast. Came back and played 7 ball games last year, and he really thought that was a mistake, that if he would have had it to do over, he should have laid out. He should have stayed out and gotten his concentration back, got his leg in better shape, and he's playing good football for the Colts now.
1st and 5. Elway drops it off underneath. The catch is made by Clarence Kay, and he takes it to the 33-yard line. And a 1st down.
Again, Elway with a lot of time, and
Coming into tonight, Indianapolis had not been tough defensively on passers. They were ranked 25th in the league through their 8 games, only 14 sacks. So they have not been pressuring quarterbacks thus far in the year, but they were certainly going at Elway in the first quarter.
Elway to Winder. And Sammy is stopped up at the 38-yard line after a gain of 4. And he does get out of bounds to stop the clock with 3 minutes and 6 seconds to play in the first half. Again, the Colts scoring more points thus far tonight than in any complete game this season. Their previous I-35 against Tampa Bay.
That's Tom Lovat, the assistant head coach of the Colts. He was one of my offensive line coaches when I played with the Cardinals, and the assistant head coach and the guy responsible for the big guys up front, talking there to his right tackle, Joel Patton. And boy, what an impressive group they've been tonight.
Second down and 5 from the 38-yard line as Elway has time and hits Natil. Natil looking for the sideline, and he can't get out of bounds. He does get the first down. He's dragged down by the rookie out of Maryland, O'Brien Alston, but the clock keeps running. 2:50 to play in the half.
Again, the Colts just seemingly confident with their zone defense. They bring 3 men, no pressure on Elway. Get the full zone, dropping back, and they'll give up the short yardage. And this kind of lead, you can give up a lot of things underneath.
From the 45-yard line, first and 10. 2.5 minutes to go in the half. 38-7 Colts. Elway under pressure and throws it out of bounds. O'Brien Alston put the pressure on that time. You know, one reason the Colts didn't get conservative, Dan, in terms of their play calling and felt they needed more points. I'm sure Ron Meyer thinks back a couple of weeks ago. They led Tampa Bay 35-10. They had that one wrapped up, and the next thing you know, Testaverde threw for 3 touchdowns. That game wound up 35-31.
Oh, no, don't misunderstand me. That was not criticism of the Colts for their play calling. In this league, you don't ever stop pouring it on. My point was, if you're Dan Reeves and you're looking at that scoreboard and you're standing over on that far sideline, you can hardly believe that they're still coming at you in waves like that. There's no mercy in this league.
No mercy for Elway. The mocking chant of Elway, who steps up and runs for the first down and more, and then slides at the 36-yard line. And Elway, gimpy ankle and all, taking off and picking up the first down. They spot the ball at the 35-yard line, and that's going to take us right up to the 2-minute warning.
You have to admire the effort by Elway, though. Down by 31, a courageous effort.
Broncos have their full complement of timeouts remaining. 38-7. That says it all, huh? That's the play in the half. 38-7 Indianapolis. Denver's ball at the Colts 35-yard line. First and 10. All 3 timeouts left for the Broncos. Elway out of the shotgun. And Sewell in traffic off his fingertips and incomplete. Second down. Well, we saw Elway run for 20 a moment ago and pick up a first down. And yesterday, about as spectacular, 49ers with a very big victory.
He got some great blocks on that run also.
Second down and 10 at the 35-yard line. Colts jump off. Flag is down. Could be a free play. Elway going for Johnson, and it's picked off in the end zone, but you've got a penalty marker down. Chris Good.
We've also got
interception.
I think we've got 2 flags. One was an offsides against Baltimore, but now we've got a little fight going on back at the line of scrimmage, and a late flag, with Indianapolis, and a late flag thrown up at the line of scrimmage. I don't know if we're going to have a personal foul or whatever.
Ezra Johnson was the man who jumped offside initially. Jerry Markwright, the referee. Head linesman is Terry Gerke.
I was wondering which one of us would be the first to do a Baltimore. I'll confess to it.
Double D.
I've done a lot of Oaklands. When you start rolling, the subconscious takes over sometimes.
Frank, you could have called them the Dallas Texans or the Boston Yanks. They go back that far.
2 defensive fouls on the play. Offside number 90, defense penalty declined. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness against the passer, number 99 defense. First
Al Thompson is going to hit John Elway from behind after he releases the ball. And keep in mind this year, the one-step rule is in effect. You can't take more than one step and hit the quarterback. And you see the hat right in the small of the back. And that's a good call. You can't hit a guy in the back with the top of your helmet. That's going to draw a flag every time. It wasn't so much the steps. I would agree with that it's the way he hit him in the small of the back with the crown of his helmet. That's going to draw the flag.
Out of the shotgun on 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Elway, Johnson, nice move to the outside. And he's tackled at the 9. He picks up a first down. He's tackled by O'Brien Alston. And Denver now stops the clock. They take their first timeout. And it comes with 1 minute and 33 seconds to play in the first half as Elway goes to the sidelines.
You see the zone as it develops. And then the coverage. And Johnson trying to get to the outside. Former tailback at the University of Arizona. Good running back. And kind of wonder what's going to happen at halftime. You know, Danny Reeves was so upset last week after the 39-21 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know what would a coach say to a team other than let's go back to the basics. I don't care what you do, how much we lose this by, we're going to go back. All I want to see you do is give me 100% effort. And they've been kind of warned if they don't. And Dan's reaction to this past week, that there might be some dire things happening.
Well, Elway back after being injured last week and coming up at halftime on that subject. Jim McMahon live in Chicago. And Jim has a physical price to pay. A feature on that, on the injury situation, and the McMahon update. And we'll get the latest from Jim as to when he figures to be back in the Chicago lineup after being hurt yesterday at Foxborough. First and goal, Denver at the 9-yard line with Mateel in motion. A lot of movement, but no flags, and Dorsett takes the ball to the 2-yard line. Yes, there was a flag. A flag at the 10. So again, Mark Wright to sort it out.
It may have been Indianapolis offsides again. Looked like somebody was in the neutral zone from the Colts. Was he drawn or not? One thing about Indianapolis and Joe Klecko and the way they've got these tackles playing, they're not afraid to crowd the line of scrimmage. Unfortunately, tonight they're just being a little sloppy in doing it. When you play that close to the football, it only takes a twitch to move part of your body into the neutral zone, and thus the flag.
And Joe, of course, playing right on the nose. He's right on top of it.
78, defense, still first down.
That's John Hand who's offside. It's still a first down. It's 1st and goal. As they'll move the ball half the distance to the goal line with 1:27 to play. Every team that's lost the Super Bowl has reached the playoffs the next season since Baltimore in '69. Denver, of course, is in that position, losing the last 2, in fact. A loss tonight, they'd be 4 and 5. And the way things look in that AFC West, to get to the playoffs, you're simply going to have to win the division. A wild card does not figure to come out of the AFC West. Seattle would have the lead by a game. Sewell in motion on 1st and goal. Elway has it batted away, intended for Clarence Kay, and it was Fred Young getting the hand up to knock it away. 2nd and goal.
Excellent anticipation by Fred Young. Hung in his zone, didn't overcommit, come up to the line of scrimmage to try to force John Elway, stayed back there hoping to make a play on the ball, and that's exactly what he did. Good look at him right there at the bottom of your screen, going to his left and then being able to stop, react, come back to his right and get up in the air and get a finger on the football. Good play that time. Number 56, Fred Young. 2 number 1s, you better make plays like that. That's a lot to give up for an inside linebacker.
89 and 90. 2nd and goal. Sammy Winder goes nowhere. Number 55, Barry Krause. 10th year in the league. Wraps him up. We talked about Krause in Cleveland as Elway takes a timeout. Krause had never played in a Monday night game. He has spent his entire career with the Colts. And he finally got the primetime exposure about a month ago and more tonight.
And Barry has been vocal talking before about what a treat it was to move from Baltimore to Indianapolis, to the newfound enthusiasm that the folks here in Indianapolis have shown since the Colts got here in 1984. And boy, he played a lot of years when it was down, and you have to feel for a guy, Frank, that hangs around the league that long, finally wins a division last year, and then again looks like they're on a roll again this year. And Barry Krause has the most memorable moment in this game.
Well, I have to go back to probably winning the championship last year when we, it was probably the highlight of my career, but finally we were champions. Finally we were winners, and when we did it, we won it in the Hoosier Dome. The fans stayed around after the game and still cheered and cheered. It was great. It was just probably my greatest moment.
Now play back in on 3rd down and goal from the 5, and Elway has it tipped away, intended for Vance Johnson. Mike Pryor covering, and it will be 4th down and goal. And with 1:04 and you're down by 31.
You can see Dan there signal to go ahead and take another timeout. They'll talk this over. They might as well. You're not saving it for anything.
Yeah, you're not going to go for a field goal here. 38-7.
I don't think there'd be any doubt in Dan's mind, if Elway were perhaps a little more mobile, that he would come with some kind of a rollout to give Elway an option to either put it in the end zone or run it in himself. But you just don't know, because although Elway is not limping, we do know, because he told us so, it's very difficult for him to move to the left. And when he scrambles, he goes right and left and right. So that's kind of amazing. Came up 1965 as a quarterback, and they turned him into an all-purpose halfback of the Dallas Cowboys. Stayed around there some 15 years as a player and a coach.
And that only losing season he had is, well, Gary Kubiak's going to come in to hold. They are going to go for a field goal.
Carlos is in there also.
Yeah. Well, you figure it out. 38-7 is the score.
Cut it to a 28-point lead.
Yeah, they'll only be 4 touchdowns down.
Yeah, right.
Well, sooner or later, when you're down by 31, you will need a field goal.
Forget about a fake, because the Colts have got to be thinking that also.
And they're going to let the clock run down.
Well, they're on the hash mark, and a 5-yard penalty would actually be beneficial to Carlos. But the Colts don't have to take it.
I think that's what Jerry Markbright is going to explain right now to Indianapolis, that this is a penalty that they don't have to take. And they're going to be smart and go ahead and decline it. It really is an advantage to the kicker to be a little bit further back. You have a little better angle. It's not quite so severe an angle.
Well, initially they said we'll decline it, but in fact they have accepted it. They've now moved the ball back to the 10, so they give Carlos the better angle.
That's about the only thing wrong Indianapolis has done this half.
Yeah. 27-yard attempt. Kubiak has fought the ball at the 17-yard line. And the kick is just good. In fact, that 5 yards may have made the difference. So Rich Carlos just does make the field goal with exactly a minute to play in the half. And that makes it 38-10.
This will give us an indication as to how close it was.
Could not have been a whole lot closer.
As a matter of fact, it looks like the ball went over the upright. It looks like if it would have gone inside, it would have hit it. Good thing he got some elevation on that ball, or it might have, it might have hit the upright and bounced back out. And I would not have wanted to be Rich Carlos and walk over to the sidelines and have to face Dan Reeves if he misses that field goal. I don't think I'd want to face Dan Reeves at halftime whomever I was.
It's been a terrible week for Dan as well. We saw him yesterday. He preceded the team in here, in fact. His father is ill in Georgia, and he left Denver early to spend a day with his dad, who's ailing, and we wish him well on his road to recovery. So Dan came in ahead of the team, and this nightmare first half for Denver.
Very close family. Ed Reeves suffered a stroke and now recovering down in Albany, Georgia.
Onside.
Spent time with him.
Instead, they kick it to the 5-yard line. It's taken there by Albert Bentley. And Bentley has a pass, and Carlos is the man who trips him up as he takes it out to the 44-yard line. Carlos making the tackle.
That's the problem when you line everyone up to one side of the field, giving it that onside kick look, and then if the return man makes a move to the other side of the field, as Bentley did that time, where's your coverage team? They're all on one half of the field, and the guy running the football happens to choose the other.
This came within that much of being 6 points.
I'm wondering if they didn't miss a signal there because they lined up as if it was going to be an onside kick, and you saw Carlos shaking his head as he went to the bench.
Well, Carlos saves a touchdown. The only guy who had any shot at it was Randy Robbins, number 48. He might have been able to catch Bentley.
Now the Colts have 2 timeouts remaining in the half if they want to utilize those from the 45-yard line. They're not content to sit on the lead. They're going for more. Booza makes the catch, and that's a first down at the 40-yard line. Booza is the chant of the crowd with 41 seconds to play in the half.
Keep in mind, Indianapolis is doing something else here. This is the maturation of Chandler, the quarterback, as well. This is valuable experience for him. Only a rookie.
And they've got Biasucci, remember, who's as good as they come to kick field goals. So they're almost within range. Chandler for Verdun. Touchdown.
The speed man.
Clarence Verdun, his first catch of the night. He beats Jeremiah Castile. And the Colts have just established a franchise record for most points in a half.
He didn't just beat him, he just obliterated him. Blew right by him, and what a strong arm displayed by Chandler. Dead in stride, some 55 yards in the air.
Castile here locked up on man coverage all the way, and Clarence Verdun, the fastest of the Colt wide receivers, a simple fly pattern, nothing more than dependent upon a good pass from your quarterback, and Chris Chandler delivered that time, and I don't know quite how to describe what we're witnessing here. With this extra point, this would be 55 points in the first half.
45 of them for Indianapolis. That makes it 45 to 10.
That's the problem.
Great protection for Chandler. And Verdun, again, we talked about it, the speed on the outside. Just a straight fly pattern. And Jeremiah Castile does not stay with him.
This is kind of like the way you draw it up with the X's and the O's, except the X's don't move. They just stay in one spot, and the O's do exactly what they're supposed to do. Right off the chalkboard for Indianapolis. An incredible first half.
Well, we'll have an entire second half to diagnose the Denver Broncos and where they go from here.
We are going to be busy diagnosing.
But they have major defensive problems. Now, again, this guy, Joe Collier, is their defensive coordinator. He doesn't have Carl Mecklenburg at his disposal tonight. But still, I think over the last couple of years, Denver's weaknesses defensively have really been exploited by other people. And they start with not being big enough and physical enough.
I have to say that finishing as high as Denver has for the past 4 years, drafting as low as they have not been able to get that big man. They've not been able to get the great outstanding players because they've been drafting way down there. 26, 27, 27 is tough.
We're flirting with offensive greatness here in the first half.
I'll just be curious to see what they do with Dickerson in the second half.
That 83 Green Bay, was that a Monday night game?
Yes, it was, against the Redskins.
That's right. I remember that.
Kenny Bell from the 7-yard line. Three flags make it 4.
All the flags.
After the 38-yard line, tackled by Steve Bryan.
And I think you see the frustration starting to surface from Dan Reeves. I think he's trying to say that one of the Colts turned his back, and that's why
Illegal block. Number 95 on the return. First down.
See, a lot of times a coverage player can turn his back when he senses a block coming, and that way he can draw the foul. The flag that time is thrown on Steve Bryan. Let's see if we can take a look at it. Right there at the bottom of your screen, see number 95, Steve Bryan.
Against John Holt, I believe, Dan.
That's number 21, John Holt, that he gets buried. Clearly a good call. Whether or not Holt turned his back and drew the block is relatively inconsequential.
Dorsett out to the 35-yard line, and that's the end of a green first half for Indianapolis. A complete treat for the Colts and a bad trick for Denver. On Halloween night at the Hoosier Dome. At halftime, 45-10 Indianapolis, and returns to the Hoosier Dome after this message from the National Football League and a word from your local station. Air for Elway and the Broncos. Totally and completely 45-10. Indianapolis on top, and they will get the ball to start the second half. Bentley Fields at the 1. And brings it back out to the 22-yard line. Stopped there by Bruce Klosterman. This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge. By Delta Airlines. We love to fly, and it shows. And to buy Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. Colts at their own 22-yard line after a 45-point first half. The rookie out of Washington, Chris Chandler, third-round draft choice. Starts him from the 22. Dickerson with 4 touchdowns as the sole running back. And Eric's first carry of the second half. There's another gem, a first down, and out of bounds he goes after a pickup of close to 16, and a flag is thrown.
And look at Eric, that was Charlie Waters. He was saying hello to over there. Long-time great defensive back for the Cowboys. And that's how he got outside. Someone at the point of attack was guilty of holding. Might have been the tight end.
Number 64, offense. First down.
It was Ben
Hutt, the right guard.
We have one question answered right away as to how they are going to use Dickerson. I think they're probably just going to stay with their ordinary game plan, even though they lead 45-10, particularly with a young quarterback. They want to work this young quarterback. He is their future, they feel. So they don't want to get merciful with somebody who can really use the on-the-job training.
First and 20 from the 12. This is Bentley, and he's tackled by Harden. Harden came up from the secondary. Harden last week, he was one of the few Bronco defenders who had a good day. The problem is when your free safety makes a lot of tackles, you know you're having a bad day defensively.
Mike Harden, one of the hardest hitting defensive backs in the league. I think all of us remember the hit he put on Steve Largent earlier in the season. It drew a fine from the commissioner. But Mike Harden, a clean ball player.
All of us remember the hit that Bo Jackson put on Harden last year when he ran over and threw him for a touchdown.
Bo was back yesterday stomping around.
Sometimes you give it, sometimes you receive it.
Second and 18 from the 14-yard line. Pump fake. And then the open man is found at the 31-yard line. Making the catch there is Matt Bouza. Short of the first down by a yard. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Boy, another sign of maturity on the part of Chandler. He was looking all the way to Brooks, who ran a square out and down. He ran it right into a zone defense. He was not open, and Chandler did not panic. Looked off, found the secondary receiver, and gets the first down out of it. You'll see it right here now. He is looking to the square out and down. Brooks, you'll see him come into the view. And they pick up Brooks. He checks off right there. And Bouza, wide open. Good work by the youngster.
Still the key to that play. He had 7 seconds to throw the football.
Shotgun now. Here's Hogaboom, or it's the wishbone, and not the shotgun as Wansley carries for a first down to the 33-yard line. And if you joined us late, this is a formation used by Indianapolis last week against San Diego. In fact, the only touchdown of the game was scored out of the wishbone formation. And tonight they went to it early and with some frequency in the first half.
I would have to think that the only guy that wouldn't be overly thrilled about this formation would be Eric Dickerson. I mean, he's certainly made it well known over the course of his career that he'd prefer to take the football out of that tailback position.
Dickerson swings to the outside. Doesn't matter where he takes it or how, he gets to the 50-yard line. I don't think he minds it as long as they don't use it as a base formation. Actually, this week he said it's not bad because it's unique and it's different and it gives them some more options.
Well, look what they did with it that time. I mean, they didn't run it like a classic wishbone in the sense, watch Dickerson gain depth. And when he takes that pitch, he's still a good 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So they're lining up in the shotgun. I mean, in the wishbone. Now you got me started with shotgun. They line up in the wishbone, but really, in essence, they're getting Dickerson the same way they'd give it to him if he was in the eye.
Who's that, Baltimore or Denver?
I think it's Indianapolis.
All right, out of the shotgun. From the 50. First and 10. Bentley looking for a first down, and he gets it. Out of bounds he goes at the 38-yard line. Gain of 12 with 11:43 to play in the third quarter. Dennis Smith just off the injured list, coming up to make the tackle.
Came back from a severely pulled hamstring. Dennis had a tough year last year. Suffered a broken arm, had all kinds of problems, missed all but 6 games. And he's just come off missing 4 with the hamstring.
Colts at the Broncos 38-yard line. Opening drive, second half. 45-10, Indianapolis. And Chandler goes to the right side and winds up hitting the tight end. Mark Boyer, who is pushed out of bounds at the 33-yard line after a gain of 5. It'll be 2nd and 5.
You really have to be impressed with Chris Chandler. I think he has just operated admirably tonight. He's been under control. Of course, he's got the big lead early, which is a plus, but still, he's thrown the ball with authority. He runs a good huddle. That's one of the things that the Indianapolis coaching staff likes about Chandler is the fact that he's a very aggressive and very intelligent young man. I want to tell you a little story about their playbook after this play.
2nd and 4 from the 32. Bentley gets across the 30. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
Talking to Jim Irsay today, the general manager of the Colts, and he was telling me a story about Chris Chandler. He had a holdout about a week and a half long before he reported at training camp. And his first day in camp, they sit down with him and say, well, it's going to be a long road to get you back into where you know what's going on here. And they start going through some things. And here he had memorized the entire Colt playbook. And when they give the psychological testing to the rookies, Chandler had scored higher than anyone the Colts had ever tested before.
The only thing he hasn't memorized to this point is the wishbone, because here's Hogenboom back in to run it on 3rd down and 1. Off the fake, he keeps, and he looks like an Oklahoma Sooner as he takes it to the 27.
You know, it's surprising that they don't use Chris Chandler as the wishbone quarterback because he's a fine athlete, even though he didn't run that much of it. When he was at Washington, he didn't run any of it at Washington. But in high school, Everett Washington High School, he lettered in baseball, he lettered in basketball, track, was on the golf team. Superb athlete.
You know, when Gary Hogenboom had those exciting years in Dallas, I don't think he envisioned his career coming down to running out on the field to run the wishbone.
No, I don't think he envisioned it in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis averaging a first down every first down. 11.6 yards from the 27. It is batted and then caught by a lineman at the 30-yard line.
And that's an automatic penalty.
Yep. As Ray Donaldson makes the catch, but after it was batted. Jerry Markwhite signaling the deflection from Walt Boyer.
There's no foul on the play. The ball was tipped. There's no foul. 2nd down.
As long as it's tipped, then you get away with it, but that's an ineligible receiver. If that ball is not touched, that's going to draw the flag. Smart play there. Pick up the flag. Move on.
Loss of 3, as it turns out. Here it is again.
Greg Cragen, the nose tackle, the guy with the block.
Second and 13. Here's Dickerson. And he's wrapped up by Cragen after a pickup of 2. Indianapolis has had the ball for the entire third quarter to this point. 9:25 to play in the period. They lead 45-10.
Third down long yardage, they're going to change up from their 4 down linemen, go into their nickel package. And this is still not a bad time when you have an Eric Dickerson. One thing you can do, even in this situation, you can run an Eric Dickerson. He's that kind of weapon.
Third and 10. Dickerson, the sole setback. And they do run him, and he exploits the hole, and he gets to the 12 for a first down.
Simple trap block when Denver is thinking pass, third down and long yardage. When you have this kind of weapon, just slide it to him.
Good-looking play that time. The right side of the Indianapolis line shows pass. Watch 64, 65, Hutton Patton set up, and then Chris Hinton, the left tackle, pulls on the trap. And that kind of a blocking scheme thoroughly confuses Denver, and Dickerson just explodes through that huge hole.
You don't do it unless you have somebody like a Dickerson. A Herschel Walker, the Cowboys love to do it.
What acceleration. I mean,
First and 10 at the 12. Bentley is the running back. It's dropped by Chandler. He picks it up, and then he gets tackled by Ryan back at the 14-yard line. Loss of a couple. It'll be second and 12. And the Colts taking the opening kickoff here, and they have now had the ball for almost half of the period.
Ray Donaldson, the all-pro center, puts it right into the hands of Chris Chandler. That's the quarterback's responsibility to control the football once the center gets it to that point. Little improvisation doesn't go anywhere. Jim Ryan played it well.
Second and 12 from just inside the 14-yard line. Donaldson, one of 6 Colts to go to the Pro Bowl last year. Bentley on that same play that they ran with Dickerson a moment ago. He takes it to the 10-yard line. It'll be third down and 7. With 7:15 to play in the third quarter.
And we touched on Bentley earlier. A year ago, before Dickerson came, just 1 year ago today, he was the man, the running back for these Colts. And he was on a good roll. He was heading for about a 1,500-yard season. They bring Eric Dickerson in. That's the end of that role. But he's handled it so well. And a real tribute to the character of this young man. Tough to do, and you know you can do it also, to sit back and subordinate your own desires.
Now out of the shotgun on third and 7 from the 10. Dickerson goes out into the pattern, and then it's batted and incomplete. Trying to throw it over the middle, and I believe it was Sean Knight who was in his face, number 99. Fourth down and 7.
And I think Chris Chandler is still feeling the after effects of that hit. That's when he held that ball to the last moment, and he's still smarting from that shot. Here's a good look at it right here. That's Jim Ryan, number 50, and Chandler might have waited just a half a count too long. Ryan is already into his body before he starts his throwing motion. That ball had nothing on it at all.
Pretty classy, Ryan, though. He pulled up on that one. Let him out of the grasp.
Biasucci now a 27-yard field goal attempt. Start to hold. And the kick is good. So they have the ball for the first 8 minutes, 26 seconds of the third quarter. And Indianapolis now leads 48-10.
That's good.
Everywhere. Works the booth, the field, hotels, whole thing. Dean Biasucci kicking off, something he has done with great frequency tonight. There's a penalty as Indianapolis was offside, so this is a free run back for Jason Johnson as he takes it to the 32. And one of the Colts came across the 35-yard line before Biasucci put it in the air. Off side against Indianapolis. Denver's going to get the ball for the first time in the second half, and the clock is already down to just 6:26 left in the period. Long Indianapolis drive, which culminates in a field goal by Biasucci.
Number 47 of the kicking team, penalty declined, first down, timeout.
That's Freddie Robinson. 6:26 to play, third quarter at the Hoosier Dome.
There's a vacancy.
They are out in force in Indianapolis on what's been a real holiday in this town, Halloween night. And their team leading 48-10 is Sammy Winder on Denver's first offensive play of the second half. Takes the ball out to the 36-yard line. Who dat?
Another end zone. 60,000 of these masks they produced here in Indianapolis. They've been planning this for months. We have been hearing about it. But what a festive occasion.
Stand with glasses so we can
There he is.
see the game.
That's without the bridge work.
2nd and 5, Denver from the 36-yard line. And Elway throws over the middle, and Teal makes the catch and is close to a first down as he gets to the 42. And then the Euchre seats.
They haven't given up, have they?
No, Gifford do.
I don't know how long this game could last, but I'll never get used to seeing those masks.
I've seen you in that position before.
Yeah, that's
many times.
That's the position of the Denver game plan right now, too. Upside down.
Broncos from the 42-yard line. And a one-handed catch is made, but for no gain by Clarence Kay. Ball squirts loose, but well after the play.
And Joe Klecko hurt his knee. Joe Klecko, one of the guys in rushing the passer, and he got it from the side, and there he gets up. But you can see he's hobbling a little bit. Joe, one of the guys back in the backfield that forced John Elway out of the pocket. What a poignant piece we had at halftime. Joe Klecko talking about it, saying you never want to leave this game because of his knee. And 2 major reconstruction surgeries. The Jets asked him to retire, said he couldn't continue medically. He came out here, passed the physical, and tried to play. But nobody knows better than Joe Klecko when that knee is hurt. And he didn't hesitate, started to go back to the line of scrimmage, but then came over the sideline. Well, the thing is, you get to this point, and it doesn't take as much to re-injure it. You're missing components in there. It doesn't take much to hurt it more.
2nd and 9, inside handoff goes to Teal. He has the first down and a lot more, and he is bumped out of bounds at the 28-yard line by Mike Pryor. Ricky Nattiel on the end around with 4:10 to play in the third quarter. Broncos on the move. First down at the 28 after a 29-yard pickup. So the Colts, 38 points to the good here, and on their way to their 3rd consecutive victory and a 4-5 overall mark.
Nothing more than a simple underneath handoff. Almost the entire Bronco offensive line pulled to their right. You can see that Gerald Perry was clear across field out in front of Ricky Nattiel. Colts playing it a little soft right now.
Elway with a very deep drop, even deeper now, and then throws and completes it to Kay, and he's tackled at the 23-yard line.
There'll be a Denver holding on that play, though. And I think we all could see it. And that hurt John Elway. Every time he goes to the left, the ankle injury is on the inside right. The pain is in that ankle. You really have to admire his courageousness tonight. I mean, this is a game that maybe he should not have even played. And yet I think it's a statement to what kind of guy he is that he is playing.
Number 66, offense, first down.
Jim Juriga.
You can see him in the lower left of your screen. He's attempting to block on John Hand, I believe, and there's number 50, Dwayne Bickett. Juriga's working on Bickett. And you can see he's got his jersey and just about anything else he can find. Gerald Perry, the left guard, is working on John Hand, and looks like he could have been flagged as well.
Flecko is back in the game. There's Joe lining up at nose tackle.
Screwed that knee brace down one more time.
After the penalty, 1st and 20 from the 38-yard line. Elway rifles one for Natil, a little bit too high for Ricky, who was covered well on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 20. As far as the Broncos are concerned, right now, the best thing going for Denver is the fact they're playing in what's turned out to be, at this point, the weakest division in the NFL, the AFC West, with Seattle on top. Seattle will be the only team above 500, 5-4. Denver and the Raiders would each be 4-5, and then San Diego and Kansas City. So the bad news, of course, 2 straight devastating losses. The good news is they're only 1 game out of 1st.
And with that in mind, I think the utmost thing to Denver tonight, looking at this stage of the game, is that Elway has to survive.
2nd and 20, and here we're going to have another procedure call. It was Juriga, who's already been called twice for holding tonight, who comes up out of his stance before the snap.
They were going with what they call their silent count.
Number 66, offense.
Their silent count, and they do it by code between the center and Elway. And Juriga just wasn't in on the code.
Talking about the division, the AFC West, the odd thing is, in a 10-year period, 78 through 87, the AFC West was the best of the divisions when they played out-of-division foes at 586. And after this play, we'll show you how they have done this year. Mark turnaround. 2nd and 25 after the penalty. Elway underthrows Natil. It'll be 3rd down and 25. The AFC West this season, when they played out-of-division foes, again, there it was over a 10-year span coming into this season. They were the best. And then this year, on the right, a .225 percentage, by far the worst. And last Sunday, every AFC West team played outside the division and lost, as did all of the NFC Central teams yesterday, oddly enough, including Chicago and Minnesota. 3rd and 25. And he throws that one behind Mark Jackson. And there's a fight that breaks out at the 40-yard line. Ezra Johnson and Juriga and Perry all involved with John Hand.
Well, this is more often than not the time in a football game where you're going to see tempers get out of hand. The Denver Broncos, 2 times they have won the AFC championship the last 2 years. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that this is a team with a great deal of pride. And here they are getting their noses rubbed in it, 48-10. I don't think anyone can blame anyone in a blue helmet tonight for being a little hostile with what's happening. If you've got any pride, you're going to fight back.
Mike Horan to kick. He angles it for the near side. And a fair catch is made and a penalty flag is thrown. Mike Pryor makes the fair catch at the 9-yard line, and the flag went down back up at the 20. A lot of penalties tonight.
Like even the officials are getting a little hostile.
3:08 to go, 3rd quarter. Colts on top, 48-10. Chandler ready to move the offense, but first, let's see about the call.
Well, it looks like it's going to be against Indianapolis by where the Colts are going to set up their huddle. Now there seems to be some confusion. The Colts were all the way back towards their end zone to set up a huddle.
And Jerry Markwright is trying to get it sorted out.
Face mask foul, number 38. Kicking team, 1st down, timeout.
After all that. Bruce Plummer. 3:08 to go in the 3rd. And Chardonnay on the right.
Don't worry, that pup has got a commercial. You're doing all right.
Dry sack?
Stands up to the ice.
From the 15, Albert Bentley out to the 17-yard line.
Something to do with carpet cleaning.
Yeah, right.
In a major way.
Which leads me into this Nightline promo.
Perfect
Tonight,
segue.
right. Campaign 88, whether it could be done for the night. 2nd down and 7. We could be also. 48-10.
We know you are.
At the 18. Swings it to Bentley, and Bentley takes it to the 21-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 4. Randy Robbins in on the tackle.
Bentley will have a chance to be busy tonight. We talked about him earlier. Fine running back. Good receiver, too. They used him that way when they had the opportunity to put the two together, but he had to take the back seat when Eric Dickerson came a year ago, and he's handled it very well. It's tough to do that.
I wonder how often Jim Irsay's phone has been ringing, inquiring as to the status of Albert Bentley, whether or not the Colts might be interested to trade him. There's Jim Irsay, the general manager of the Colts. You'd have to think that there are some teams in this league that could use an Albert Bentley as their primary guy.
Sitting by 2 phones as we speak. 3rd down and 4. And Chandler hits Brooks for a first down. So the rookie out of Washington improvises, finds his man, and they keep the ball. Have it out at the 35-yard line, first down.
He's growing up. We told you that he's a fine athlete. Has scrambled well in the past. Has done so on several occasions here tonight.
So much for Dickerson being done for the night. He's back in there. And he's back in there because they're going to bring Hogeboom into the game. And maybe run a little wishbone here for a while.
Well, how serious do you think Ron Meyer is with this wishbone?
And you know what they're doing? There's Willie Tullis. How serious is he? That's a cornerback. Willie Tullis, who's going to be the quarterback. He ran some wishbone in college, and they had him practicing as he gives to Wansley. Last week, he had hoped to come into the game last week in San Diego, but didn't. And here's Meyer giving him his chance in prime time.
One play in prime time, but he was a quarterback at Troy State, those many years ago, 8 to be exact, and a good running back. When he first came into the league, he was an excellent return man.
How great is this?
My moment in the sun.
Yeah. Well, they tell us, he says, hey, Coach, what's my quarterback rating right now?
Well, if I was going to play quarterback in this league, I'd like to do it with a 48-10 lead.
Yeah.
Barry Dickerson behind me.
2nd down and 8 from the 38-yard line. Catch is made for a first down by Mark Boyer. He takes the ball into Denver territory to the 47-yard line in the waning seconds of the 3rd quarter. How great is that for Tullis, though? Can always say he played quarterback on Monday Night Football.
Well, you look at Denver and the problems they're having. I'll tell you, it's tough coming up. They got Kansas City at home. Then they have Cleveland. They have New Orleans. They have the Rams, the Raiders, Seattle. They also have New England. So they're grim prospects.
There's Willie, all smiles. He's thinking about applying for a scholarship at Oklahoma. 4th quarter coming up, 48-10. Back after this message about an upcoming show on ABC and a word from your local station. So we start the 4th quarter in Indianapolis. Bosworth is here, huh?
Noted author.
Howard the Duck.
Yeah. 1st and 10 from the 47-yard line. Here's Bentley. And Simon Fletcher helps to run him out of bounds near the 41. Indianapolis on top, 48-10. Exploding early and often. And there is
NFL Management Council.
right now next year's Monday Night Crew. There it is.
Oh, no.
That's an interesting montage.
That's right.
Thank you. Thank you for making everyone ill with that last shot.
We're going to eat there after the game, you know. 2nd and 3 at the 40. Bentley, and he gives it to Verdun. And Verdun gets a block and runs out of bounds at the 33-yard line after picking up a first down. Rulon Jones, and it's the first time we've called his name tonight, ran him out of bounds.
One thing about Clarence, once he got towards the sidelines at 5'8", 163, you notice that he plans on playing in this league for a while. He stepped right out rather than trying to challenge Rulon Jones. Hardly fault him for that decision.
Came from the Redskins. Kind of ideal. They like that size. Indianapolis was able to make a trade in the offseason for Verdun. He really represents what speed they have on the outside.
That's the 33-yard line. Fake to Bentley. Chandler takes off and slides down at the 25-yard line, a little bit short of the first down.
Chandler went down just to keep that clock moving. He could have run out of bounds, stopped the clock, and he went down just right at the sidelines and stopped the clock.
Well, UCLA will try to rebound. 2nd and 3 at the 25-yard line. And it's Hogeboom running that option again. Michael Brooks hit on the tackle. It'll be 3rd down and 2. This is crazy.
We begin at any age here in Indianapolis. Even our cameramen get into the act.
Get through 4 touchdowns yesterday.
Yes, I've gotten a few letters reminding me that Michigan has not yet won the Roses. They still have to play, what, Illinois, I guess, Minnesota, Ohio State?
On 3rd and 2, George Wansley is short of the first down, and it means we'll possibly take a look at Biasucci, even though the crowd wants Indianapolis to go for it. They look over toward the sideline, and they will go for it on 4th down and a yard at the 24-yard line.
Why not go for it? The way the Indianapolis offensive line has dominated this football game, it doesn't look like a yard is going to be all that tough to pick up, the way they've been manhandling the Denver front 7.
Not when you have a 29 in there.
Out of the wishbone. 4th and a short 2. Option, Bentley. First down, and a 1st and goal to the 5.
Boy, that was pretty.
I really have mixed emotions here. Do we praise the Indianapolis Colts for playing a superb football game, which of course they have, but can you do that without at the same time noting the disintegration of the AFC champions? I mean, the Denver Broncos aren't even here tonight.
And it's not just tonight. We'll go back the last 3 games. They gave up 246 yards, 5.1 average against San Francisco rushing. Atlanta had 174 in the ground. Pittsburgh 256.
And a touchdown for Bentley.
You can't let a team totally dominate you on the ground, as the Broncos have certainly the last 3 games and throughout the entire first half of the season.
Bentley taking it in with 11:49 to play in the game. And Dean Biasucci to boot it through, and Dan Reeves will take the flight home with his team tonight, try to regroup.
Well, it's a tough few games coming up.
Yep. And next week, Kansas City goes to Mile High, but then they've got Cleveland, at New Orleans, and the Rams. Back to back to back.
I know last week the Broncos didn't even watch the films of their defeat by the Steelers. Heaven knows what they'll do with these films.
Wow, that touchdown has turned the Hoosier Dome into a giant primal scream room. I love it.
that means a plethora of Elviras.
We have the original.
Yep. Elvira's new movie, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Coming to a theater near you. 55-10 Colts. Kick is taken by Jason Johnson. And he brings the ball back out to the 23-yard line. 55 points for Indy tonight. Most points ever scored by one team in a Monday Night Football game. 55-10, and that's the most points scored by any team in the NFL this season. And we still have 11:38 to play.
What a night for Indianapolis. Well, they've turned it loose in every way. Everybody in the city has gotten behind this promotion, is one way to put it, for tonight. Spectacular in every way. Flew in Sandy Patty. She sang the national anthem. Great singer.
Gary Kubiak is now the quarterback, with Elway back on the bench, and Johnson makes the catch out at the 32. The folks here, of course, are hoping that the 1992 Super Bowl will be awarded to Indianapolis. The NFL has said they will play it in a northern tier city in January of 92, meaning either Seattle, Minneapolis, Indianapolis, or Pontiac, Michigan, the home of the Lions, one of those four.
And one of the things you have to prove to the NFL is that you can pull off a big deal, and they have certainly done that here tonight. Of course, they've done it in the past with the Pan Am games that were here in '87.
Do it every year with the Indy 500.
Yeah, that's only 400,000 people.
2nd and 1. Kubiak throws over the middle, and the catch is made by Winder, and a first down out at the 41. It is a sports-minded, sports-crazy city, really, and they've done a lot of things here through the years. They built Market Square Arena, now the home of the Pacers, and of course the Hoosier Dome. They built this before they even had a football team. They built it in hopes of getting a football team.
That took some guts, didn't it?
Oh boy. And of course the tremendous amateur sports facilities.
There are towns that won't build a stadium with football teams.
Yeah, that's right.
Much less this city that built it on the upcome.
At the 41-yard line. No gain there for Sammy Winder, and they were telling me today if the time comes when they can get a Major League Baseball team, they're prepared to build another stadium for baseball.
Yeah, because this building is strictly a football building. It's adjacent to their convention center, so they use the floor space for other things, but this building is not large enough floor space to accommodate a baseball team.
Well, Indy is pro baseball. They've had a good minor league team here, a good franchise. They've drawn a lot of people for a minor league operation through the years.
Of course, if you talk about Major League Baseball franchise, you've got to talk about Denver as well, don't you?
Absolutely. Tops a lot of lists. 2nd down and 11 from the 40-yard line. And the pop is made on the teal by Eugene Daniel out at the 44-yard line.
Nice job that time by Ricky holding on to the ball. Eugene really came up and stamped him. Something tells me, Frank, you've been in this position, although I'm sure never by this large of a deficit, but
I heard that.
Has to hurt a little bit more when you get hit that hard.
I was thinking back to a Pittsburgh Steelers game. 62-7, I think we lost that one. It all hurts. But you're right. It hurts a lot more when you're down by 30, 40 points.
3rd down and 6 from the 45-yard line. And Kubiak hits Sewell. He has a first down as he's tackled at the Indianapolis 45 with under 9 minutes now to play.
He was a kid when we started.
Colts stay home this week, and they'll be taking on the New York Jets in a game that
He didn't come on no broom.
yeah, no way. At the 45, first down. Colts staying home. Jets come in here next week. Indianapolis will be 4-5 after this victory. A game and a half behind the Jets, who are in 2nd place. Kubiak off Nateal's fingertip. 2nd down.
This has been a nightmare. That's the front view of the Bosman. Has his little horseshoes on his cheeks. Looking up at the monitor here in the stadium, realizing he's made it. Where, I'm not sure, but he's made it.
His way.
Andy Warhol said it right. Stick around, go to a Monday night game. You get about 5 seconds.
Second and 10. Vance Johnson's in the 38-yard line. It'll be third and about 3. ABC's Monday Night Football. We pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves. Midnight in Indianapolis with 7:55 remaining in the game. 55-10 Colts on 3rd and 3. Kubiak, the winder, and we've got flags all over the place. 3 flags thrown on 2 distinct occasions, so there should be a couple of penalties here. Jerry Markbright.
Contact foul, number 37 defense. An eligible receiver downfield on the pass, 57 offense. Penalties offset, 3rd down.
Send money. Well, maybe Dickerson's making all they have to give.
Or Freddie Young, he went up there pretty high.
Right.
A lot of interest in what's happening downfield.
When's the last time you saw professional players standing around saying send money? 3rd down and 2 from the 37-yard line. Kubiak, he can't hold on. It'll be 4th down.
I guess it's easier when you don't have the NCAA to contend with. You can blatantly ask for some money.
Right.
Just happy to be here.
We have seen some bizarre costumes tonight.
Yep.
About 8 weeks too early up there.
Boy, that woodwork goes on and on and on, doesn't it? And another penalty.
Unnecessary roughness on both sides. Number 99 and 72 after the play was over. Penalties offset, 4th down.
Well, you've got Karts and Thompson. And Jerry Glanville's tickets were left several weeks ago, and he finally showed up. Twice.
Yeah.
And we'll see Glanville next week. And the Houston Oilers at home.
We'll probably see this guy, too.
Right. Against Cleveland on Monday Night Football. 4th and 2, and they give it to Sewell on the inside handoff. And Sewell gets inside the 15 and is bumped out of bounds at the 12-yard line by Eugene Daniels.
Is that your buddy David Cohn?
Absolutely. the erstwhile journalist right there. And his ghostwriter. So to speak.
Yes, everyone in Indianapolis is proud tonight.
That's right. Denver at the Colts 12-yard line. 6:56 to play. 55-10. Indianapolis. And of all things, a timeout. Kubiak, knowing we were behind on commercials, with 6:56 to play. We'll be right back.
We're out of control.
Yeah.
Totally.
Indianapolis, the Hoosier Dome. All Colts from the very beginning. Dickerson scoring 3 touchdowns in the first quarter alone. And Indianapolis routing Denver. 6:56 to go in the game. 55-10 Colts. 1st and 10. Denver at the 12. Kubiak hits Sewell. And he gets tackled inbounds at the 7-yard line after a gain of about 5.
Interesting play on psychology tonight as far as the fans are concerned. I think, of course, they're partisan fans for the Colts, but they came ready for a real contest. They were stoked up. They were fired up. They got about 2 minutes of it, and they looked down there and all of a sudden realized this thing, as we did, was out of control, and they have sat quietly, silently, and now they have started to disappear. Well, I think the magnitude of this victory has surprised us all, but we all watched the tapes of how Denver played last week. None of us are surprised that Indianapolis has won this game tonight.
2nd down and 5. The surprising thing, though, is that a team can play like Denver has 2 weeks in a row. Kubiak throwing into the end zone for a touchdown to Vance Johnson. So Denver adding 6 more and maybe a 7th. The funny thing, Dan, is that when the team plays as poorly as Denver did last week, normally you rebound. You don't see back-to-back clunkers like this very often from a good team.
Particularly not after you've been blasted by Dan Reeves, who is relatively quiet. Said it's the worst exhibition that he had seen in a long time, I think is how he phrased it.
John Elway told us last night, he said, hey, we've had a real good week of practice. We feel like we did last year after they were beaten by Buffalo. They played their worst game of the year against Buffalo in midseason as Carlos's extra point is missed and doesn't that figure. And then they rebounded last year with that tremendous Monday night win over Chicago, and that really got them started on the way back to the Super Bowl. And they thought they were in the same relative position now, but that's not the case.
A look at the touchdown pass. Kubiak just floats left. Vance Johnson, good pattern. Too late.
Denver lined up for an onside kick, and loose ball. Who's got it? They've got it. Denver. So with 6:01 remaining in the game, and Indianapolis leading 55-16. Tim Lucas recovers the onside kick, and Denver will keep the football when we come back. Something.
That would be the termination of one Al Michaels.
Knock it off. Denver at the 46-yard line. 1st and 10. Wrecking the teal, he's looking to pass. Sends it back to Kubiak the other way, and right off the street, it's incomplete. 2nd and 10.
I think I would have saved that. Yeah, I think I might have saved it as well.
Well, some diet.
We have been picked clean.
Oh, boy.
Well, what do we have to look forward to now? I think it's time for Denver to go to the bone. They might go to the wishbone. How about Cleveland and Houston? Next week.
2nd and 10 from the 45. Browns and Oilers from the Astrodome next Monday. Kubiak, he runs out of bounds as he crosses the 50, and that stops the clock with 5:47 to play in the game. Maitre D at a Beverly Hills eatery. Frank's out here. It's you and me, Dan.
Frank, come back. I looked at my OG and there was a red eye. How many of you watched that game last night? Houston and Washington. Houston is back also. Yep. How many helmets does Houston put on a ball carrier? Oh, do they have a swarming defense or what? They get to the football, and of course the Browns beat the Bengals yesterday. The Dogs, did they play defense? Had their day.
And both quarterbacks healthy again, Kozar and Moon. Shovel pass to Sewell. And Sewell staying inbounds and going all the way for a touchdown. Steve Sewell with a little shovel pass.
Moving in on overtime.
48 yards. And so the onside kick is successful. They go in for the score. They'll, I'm sure, try another onside kick with 5:39 to play in the game.
This becomes kind of like a practice. Try a lot of things that you don't really work on in the heat of a contest, I guess. Maybe that's the way Denver's looking at it. Those aren't masks.
Carlos, who missed the last extra point, hits this one to make it 55-23. So if you made an over and under bet at 77, you've just made it.
Something to keep in mind is that this telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League. It is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or any other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the National Football League is strictly prohibited.
Does the lawyer who wrote that get a residual each
I don't know. If he did, he'd be doing all right.
Bring you up to date transactions in October in the NFL. I think most of you know about Mark Gastineau and his retirement. Bernie Kosar, of course, has been activated again, and we'll see him next Monday. Quad Reves went on injured reserve, and Dierdorf placed on waivers by the Cardinals.
Finally realized he wasn't coming back. At least they had the decency to move before they did it.
Another onside attempt. This one is picked off by Pat Beach, and he's tackled by Carlos at the 5-yard line.
Oh, and then Carlos goes in for another shot. There's a little flaw in that, and Pat Beach figured it out. He saw it once before. Everyone lined up outside of him. Well, the key here is, if you're the kicking team, you have to let it go 10 yards before you can touch the ball. If you're the receiving team, you don't have to let it go 10 yards. You can go take it right off the tee if you're quick enough. Pat Beach, he had planned that all the way. There's a good look at it from high above. Carlos trying to time it out. That ball goes about 6 yards before Pat just helps himself. And old Rich goes in for a mugging.
Yep, his second tackle of the night. He may be their leading tackler tonight. At the 6. First and 10. Hogeboom, and this time not in the wishbone. In a more conventional set from the 6-yard line. And he gives it to Bentley. Hogeboom was tripping as he gave the ball away to Bentley. Both men go down. Loss of a couple. 5:20 to go in the game.
Hogeboom might have been stepped on as he pulled away from the center. They had themselves quite a night. You know, the one thing about this is, what would we have done if this wouldn't have been Halloween?
Good point.
Boy, would we have been hurt.
Second and goal. Bentley. Third and goal.
We've been hurting anyway, pal.
We'd have looked for an inflated pumpkin in about 43 fights in the stands. That's what happened the last time we had one of these.
Serious for this man. Deadly's very concerned. He was so concerned after last week, but he's been concerned for a couple of years trying to make a bigger football team. Hard to do when you're finishing as high and then drafting so low. And now he's even more concerned. If it's not bad enough, they send Eric Dickerson back into the game.
On third down and goal, they figure Dickerson has scored 4 touchdowns tonight. And they may give him a chance for a 5th. And what are they going to do? They're going to call a timeout? That's what they're going to do.
Whoa.
Because the clock was ticking down. They were going to get hit with a delay.
Well, the Colts are dangerously thin at the running back position. They only have 3 on their roster with Bentley, Wansley, and Dickerson. It's not like they have a wealth of running backs.
Here, Dickerson with 4 touchdowns in the game, tying a Colts record, and may get a chance for yet one more on a 3rd and goal. And the New York City Marathon, always
My key on Eric. He does attract attention.
Hogeboom stays in the game. They come in the wishbone on 3rd and goal from the 8. And they hand it off to Wansley, who takes it to the 4-yard line. So it'll be 4th down and goal with under 4 minutes to play. Crowd wants them to go for it, and they obviously will here with a 32-point lead.
Dickerson was the decoy last time for Ron Meyer. I wonder if he's brave enough to do that again. On 4th down, you have to give it to this guy and give him a chance to get number 5.
They waited a long time to bring him in. I think they probably just got word from up above, perhaps, that he had a chance for the record.
4th and goal from the 4. And instead, it's Wansley, and he goes nowhere, and they turn the ball over on down. So Denver takes over at its own 4-yard line with 3 minutes and 13 seconds to play. And the Colts will come up just short, unless they get the ball back and score, of the most points in Colts history, 58. Baltimore against Buffalo in 1976. Most points the Broncos have ever given up, 59, to the Chiefs, all the way back in 1963.
And they have been flirting with that.
From the 4-yard line, Kubiak. Sewell out to the 8-yard line, but there was a flag before the inception of the play, before the snap. Tell us, Jerry.
False start, number 72 offense. The play does not count. First down again.
It's Keith Karts. First down at the 5-yard line. 3:07 to go. 55-23 Indianapolis. Dan Reeves shaking his head. Long trip home and
that tell it all.
Regroup. Similar to the expression we saw on his face in San Diego last January 31st. Kubiak runs it out to the 9-yard line. And we can tell you the executive producer of Monday Night Football is Jeffrey Mason. Tonight's game is produced by Ken Wolf. We're going to try to get a shot of Kenny in the stands in just a moment. Directed by Craig Janoff. Our technical director, Joey Chavo. Associate Director Ben Harvey. Rob Biner, our halftime producer. Emily Deutsch, our halftime associate producer. 2nd down and 5 from the 9-yard line. And Kubiak takes it to the 18-yard line, and that's a first down. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to go in Indianapolis, where the Colts lead the Broncos 55-23. To go in Indianapolis, 55-23. The remnants of this big crowd remaining. Big night for the Colts. And a big night for the franchise. Their first ever Monday night appearance at home as Sewell takes the pass and takes it out to the 35-yard line. I don't believe this.
Oh, all right, Chris.
He's got an idol.
So much for Dierdorf on waivers, huh?
What a fabulous football player he is.
But you have, man, 6 Pro Bowls, and he's got 4 already.
It's dropped, picked up by Sewell, and he takes it out to the 37-yard line. And we can tell you, there's Kenny Wolf. We promised you a shot of him. Our technical manager, Bill Freeberger, unit manager, Ed McKenna, Frank Seeger, Bruce Clark, Joe Castellano, Mark Amento. On our crew, our research and information, as always, from Steve Hurt, and up in the booth, George Hill of the Palouse, and Malibu Kelly Hayes, neighbor of Dickerson. We thank you, folks.
He lives in his carriage house, doesn't he?
That's right. Big night for Dickerson, big night for the Colts. And why not?
Unfortunately, he's been playing that since the first quarter. That's when the Colts played taps on the Broncos. They put them away early.
Put a tap dance on them. Fumble. I do believe Denver has recovered.
Well, they're going to rule it down, I believe. Or they recovered. Take your pick. Who knows? They're going to keep it. And this guy turned in a game effort tonight. He came in here hurt. Maybe shouldn't have played. It was obvious to watch him that he was trying to do what he used to be able to do but couldn't do it tonight.
And another 3 flags. Even Mark Wright's discussed it at this point.
False start, number 66. Offense, third down.
Don't even say his name out.
Oh, you're right. But his initials are J.J.
And he has had a tough night. So is he.
And there's more to come.
I'm going to miss these masks. I don't know about you guys, but I've grown fond of them.
Kubiak. Too tall for Jason Johnson.
We have seen it all tonight.
I don't believe it. It's amazing. Where did all of this come from? I mean, how many novelty shops and costume houses can there be in town?
Well, how would you like to be someone who specialized in having Halloween garb here in Indianapolis? I mean, this had to be a banner week for you.
Boy. Crowd with one final Elway chant, even though Kubiak's in the game. As Johnson makes the catch down at the 46-yard line and a first down. So Ron Meyer, who watched his team go 1-5, now watches them win 3 straight, 4-5, and a chance to get to the 500 mark this Sunday when the New York Jets visit. Natil, with 10 seconds to play in the game. Ricky makes the catch, and Denver takes a timeout. The Broncos take a timeout. Take command early, score often. And there they were, the montage of Dickerson touchdowns. Kubiak on what should be the final play of the game throws a Hail Mary incomplete. And that will do it. So for the first time ever, Monday Night Football comes to Indiana, and the Colts make it very much a night for the home folks to remember.
And for us to remember. And remember, I'll see you guys in Houston.
Maybe. Once again, the final score, Indianapolis 55, Denver 23. And we can tell you that coming up Saturday on ABC's College Football, Troy Aikman and the UCLA Bruins will take on Oregon. Some of you will see the Golden Gophers of Minnesota battling the Michigan Wolverines. Check your local listings for the game in your area. And then Sunday on ABC Sports, over 22,000 runners compete in the world's largest race, the New York City Marathon. Tonight on Nightline, Campaign 88, whether Bush or Dukakis, how much difference can a new president really make? Jeff Greenfield talks with 2 men who wanted to be elected president this year. His guests are Senator Albert Gore and Congressman Jack Kemp. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, good night from Indianapolis.